Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boys, Jack and Sean here. No, David, he's taking some time off this weekend, and we're going to be bringing you your Tottenham news bulletin and a roundup of all of today's transfer rumors, potential incomings, outgoings, as well as the latest club news. Sean, I do kind of enjoy having you for these fan shows, because Dave, has left me, with you before in the past. I feel like it's been a few months since we've kind of been tag teaming this, but we are just going to be kind of doing a big roundup of the news, more or less kind of a morning headlines instead of an evening headline. So there might even be breaking news at some point, even who knows, like during the middle of the stream. But apart from that, my man, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
You're welcome, Jack. I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm actually still recovering from the longest stream I've ever done in my entire life yesterday. I think it was like 7 hours or something, and
almost went the full 10. Could have gone double digits. Yeah. You had it in you.
By the end of it, I was a little bit too tipsy. I was sloshed, and I went to go to bed and recover. I'm feeling better today. I drank a lot of water, and I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Do you feel like you were getting, people say, with marathon runners, they get that runner's high. Were you getting like a streamer's high? Do you feel like you could have pushed for the full 10? That's what I'm saying. You should have pushed for the full 10. Get the double
figures.
A spontaneous double-digit stream.
Yeah, I don't know. The charity streams have lasted a lot shorter times than that stream yesterday, and there wasn't even any news out either, which is insane. I don't know how we managed to talk for 7 hours about Tottenham.
That's how good you are, Sean. That's how good you are. You can just, can create something out of nothing. Yeah. There you go. The creative midfielder of the streamers. Big up, everybody. Just going to welcome a few people in the house just very quickly, and then we are going to get breaking down into the news. And then everybody, as you can see up here, and as I can highlight, it's also pinned in the chat, the link to all of the fan show members will be put out about 45 minutes maybe into the stream. And then you guys can all pile in and you can have your say with me with all the news that Sean and I did discuss. I don't want you guys, to just be sitting in the background right now while we're discussing the news. I think that'd be unfair to you. So sit back, relax, maybe grab some coffee, who knows, mid-afternoon kind of, tea, maybe even something a bit spicier than that, who knows. But, we don't want to waste your time. We're going to put the link out there about 45 minutes in, everybody. But yeah, let's greet a bit of the Harris Army, and then we'll get this started. We got Ozzy in the house. Good to see you, my man. George Hill saying Spence deal has been giving me Tomiyasu vibes for a couple of weeks now. I completely agree, George. And I think Maddie even tweeted that the other day. I think he's describing exactly how we all felt about it. Just so strange how it's just been like we've been knowing about this deal for about 6-7 months and it still hasn't happened. Very Tomiyasu vibes. Welsh Gal saying, big up, lads. Thanks for helping me get through this summer. Greetings to the Fab Harris Army. Welsh Gal, us and the IPAs this summer are going to get you through, Welsh Gal. Big yourself up. Tottenham Gold in the house saying, let's get to 7K. Hopefully sometime soon in Tottenham Gold, but we get there by the end of the summer. That would be glorious. Big up Tottenham Gold. Hopefully we catch you on the fan show, my man. 164 Spur, good to see you. Matt C as always. Mick Hermelot, good to see you as well, my man. Zoe saying happy Friday, everyone. Big up the Harris Army. Zoe, appreciate that. And good to see you as well. Zoe also had, I would say for the first time I've ever disagreed with Zoe. She seems to not be the biggest fan of Cody Gakpo, which I must say, she seems to have finer taste than me. Sometimes I settle for less. She wants Raphinha. I kind of am, going to settle with Cody Gakpo. But Zoe, we'll figure it out. But she's also a big fan of Pau Torres as well, which we can all definitely support. But quick thoughts on that, Shawnee? Cody Gakpo, heard of the guy, the Dutch, kind of guy from PSV Eindhoven. Would you potentially take him instead of like a Raphinha as like your winger?
Of course, I heard of him. I heard this morning. I read on Twitter. I think he's going to Leeds, isn't he? Or he might be going to Leeds.
He might be going to Leeds potentially. Yeah.
Yeah. And probably to replace Raphinha. No, he's a good player. I don't know how much he would cost. I've got no idea what his valuation is. And also, I don't know, Dutch players or players that come out of Holland.
Bad history for us.
Yeah, not always a good league to transition from. Not always successful. So yeah. I don't mind it, but doesn't blow my socks off or anything.
Bad history with the Dutch players from Eredivisie and a bad history, I would say, with the Liga French players, I think, as well. So maybe we might just have to avoid it, even when it makes sense, just for almost kind of, just bad luck reasons. Good to see you, Mark. Good to see you, Sue Smith, as Brian says, the Diamond. Craig Bowler in the house as well. No one does know what's going on behind the scenes, but we are going to speculate no matter what, Craig. For Art, for Earth Below says, I always feel like Spence didn't feel quite right. Yeah, potentially. You could have, I don't know. It seemed like it was going to happen. The more it gets reported on, the more you probably believe it, but perhaps it isn't. Good to see a DG, R Green in the house as well. And then we also have ATX Gaming. As always, good to see you, ATX. Hopefully you're enjoying your summer. John Langford saying, big up David and Jack. And Levy up to his old tricks again. Hope Conte does not wake big up Sean. Hopefully Conte does not walk. Big up Sean. No, I think Conte is well satisfied. And I'm pretty sure, not signing Jed Spence isn't going to make Conte walk, I would imagine. Sean, I don't think he'll be too heartbroken about it. Carl Higgins as well in the house. Good to see you, Carl. Daniel Larson, hopefully catch you on the fan show. Daniel, so many people with badges beside the name. Hopefully we do catch you on today. Capcom Gaming with the super chat saying Levy got the easiest deal and if fumbling at all, shake my head. We're going to get to a bit of a question later on this Capcom, but if I'm going to give my just quick thoughts on this, and I do want Sean's later, but if I'm going to kind of, maybe give a sneak preview on what I'm going to say about this Jed Spence deal. If any of the deals to potentially haggle on, I'm okay with us maybe haggling on the Jed Spence deal. It's not really my favorite sort of deal. It's not really my favorite right wing back that we're pursuing. I'd rather us haggle over a deal that maybe costs nothing than I would over a deal that costs a lot. Because if you're trying to spend 60 million on a player, that probably shows that you really have a lot of faith in that player, that you do really want that player. So I'd rather us, not haggle over a Raphinha deal than we haggle over like a Jed Spence deal, if that makes any sense at all. If you were to pick between which one for Spurs to haggle over, I'd much rather us haggle over a Jed Spence deal than we would a Raphinha deal or anything like that. So let me know what you think about that, Capcom. Big Boss Man in the house, good to see you. Roy Park, always good to see you. Dan N in the house as well. And then we also have Makeen, I like that name as well. And then Ribsy85, of course, Derek Smith. And then just one more, I think I'm missing potentially. Derek Hutchinson, there he is, and Tequila 316. Everybody, like I said, that are joining us, we do have 119 in the house. Do smash that like button. And like I said, everybody, the link to come on this fan show will be up in 45 minutes once Sean and I do kind of cover all the news and kind of just give our sort of kind of, thoughts and kind of discussion on it. And then we'll just have you guys come on and we'll just bang out the rest of, kind of your sort of, thoughts, the Harris Army on these news that we've been discussing, because I feel like we'll probably leave some things maybe uncovered, perhaps something that you feel like might have been missed. So really good opportunity to come on to the fan show. But last thing before we do get started, as you can tell, I am running the show by myself today. David is taking the weekend off. So if you feel like you want to get your comments, kind of read aloud by, Sean and I, you want to stop us at any stage, feel free to put it up in a super chat. Since I am running it sort of behind by myself, it is kind of a bit tougher to put all the comments up on screen. So hopefully you guys have a bit of patience with me, but let's get into it. Everybody smash that like button. But Sean, we are going to start with Spurs haggling over Jed Spence. Probably something that, you wanted me to start somewhere else, Sean, but I just can't do it. It is something that seems to be kind of a big talking point, I would say, in the fan base. Lyle Thomas from Sky Sports is reporting that Tottenham's chairman, Daniel Levy, is still struggling to agree a fee with Middlesbrough for right wing back Jed Spence. And he does say Tottenham and Middlesbrough remain apart in their valuations of Jed Spence after the latest round of negotiations. Officials from both clubs are understood to have met in London on Thursday, but were unable to find an agreement. Chairman Daniel Levy is understood to be personally leading the club's pursuit of the England under-21 right back, leaving Fabio Paratici to concentrate on other targets, apparently. Initial talks between Spurs and Borough were not successful in finding an agreement with the North London club, indicating they believe his net worth to be in excess of £10 million. Borough, however, won at least £15 million plus add-ons. So this conversation did not go further. How much do you feel like is overpaying for Jed Spence? Like what, with Capcom Gaming Super Chat in mind, Sean, what do you make of my bold claim that if any of the players to haggle over, maybe this isn't the worst player to haggle over?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. I also want to I don't want to come out and sound like I'm defending Daniel Levy here, okay? Because I know
I'm not either. I just am saying like I would haggle over this too because he's not my favorite player. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah. Like if this were even FIFA, like I wouldn't be. I'd be haggling. I don't really like this guy. Like too much.
There has to be an element of like valuation, right? Some fans say, "Well, just pay the number." Well, like if the number's irrelevant, then you get taken for a mug, right? And I think that, and also we don't even know if Daniel Levy is leading the negotiations. It's just rumored to be. Like none of us really know. I'm not suggesting he might well be and it could be another Daniel Levy stumbling point, completely refusing to budge. And if it is, then nothing's changed. And thank God that he's doing this on the Spence deal rather than the Raphinha deal or the Bissouma deal. But thank God if that's the case. But first of all, I don't want Jed Spence anyway as anything more than a second choice right wing back next season. So, like, if we do miss out on him, I'm not that bothered.
Do you think maybe the reason is like 5 million more? It could be like Nahuel Molina or something like that, like someone who could be much better. Sorry, but
and that's 50% more, right? Like, it might seem like it's just 5 million. It's easy to say that when it's not our money, by the way. But it's like if we think he's valued at 10 million, and they want 15, that is 50% more than what we think he's valued at, which is a lot of money. Mm-hmm. It's a bigger gap than just the 5 million sounds like, right? You have to have.
And I interrupted your second point. I think you were going to say, was that just the second point? Was that 50% is just also a lot more than we think. 50% add-on is a lot more than we think.
50% difference is a big gap. So, imagine going and buying a house and you think the house, or selling your house, you think the house is worth 500 grand and someone else says no, it's 750. It's a big difference. It's 50% of the asking price. So for me, and then, to your point, mate, I'd rather him be messing this one up than any others, but we don't even know if it's actually him that's messing it up.
And then just to transition this, would you rather than maybe Daniel Levy? He's not going to be leading the negotiations for Raphinha, thank God. You would rather, let's say, if it were that horrible scenario, you would rather him haggle over a Jed Spence deal than you would a Raphinha deal, because the Raphinha one is someone where you're just like, okay, this is a player that already does cost a lot. Like, if you do really want someone like him, you shouldn't really be that worried about 5 million extra. You already cost 65 million, and whereas, like you said, with Jed Spence, when it's like, okay, we have him at 10 million, they want close to 20. It's like, I don't know about that. It's not like, and like you said, proportion wise, like Raphinha, they want 65. Let's say they demand 70. It's not like as much of a huge jump when you really think.
But if they wanted to add 50% to that, if it was 60 million and they said no, it's 90 million. That's a big difference.
I agree with you.
You have to have some reasonable valuations in play. And if Daniel Levy, and again, we also don't know. Paratici might have said, "Can you handle this? But for what it's worth, I don't want you paying anything more. If you've given me 200 million as my budget this summer, if you can handle this, I'd be appreciative of it. But I don't want you spending any more than 11 on him. Anything more than that, and he's not that important to me. So, but we don't know. I just don't like the fact that there's a lot of people on Twitter already coming out with the knives. Oh, this is Daniel Levy's fault. Typical Daniel Levy. It's like they're waiting for the chance to blame Daniel Levy for something.
I sort of see where they're coming from, but at the same time, I just feel like I don't really like Jed Spence that much to begin with. So I kind of am happy that he is haggling over it. I'd rather we get a good deal over a player that I don't necessarily want very much. Ribsy85 saying Spence is the perfect example of the media forcing a move. He might be good. He might even one day be fantastic, but we are not. But we are so much better. None of us care if he goes elsewhere, spend time on others. Ribsy might have just summarized everything that I've been trying to describe for 5 minutes in a nice, succinct point. And honestly, probably calls me out a bit there. I wish I could be a bit more succinct and more efficient with my words there, Ribsy, and I do appreciate it. I mean, Sean, I think he's exactly describing what we're sort of saying, or at least what I'm trying to say, which is I don't really care that much about Jed Spence. I want him to do well as a footballer, but he's nowhere even near my top 3, top 4 choices for a right wing back. So if we are going to miss out on him, I'm not going to be crying over it, even if it is Daniel Levy's the reason.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Big up, Ribsy. Really appreciate support. And I must say, it feels like a lot of people might be in agreement with us, hopefully on this, because if he's, your top 1, top 2 sort of right wing back options, absolutely, I think you would be upset that, Spurs aren't going all out for him. But I would like to maybe make a bold conclusion that Jed Spence isn't really everybody's number 1 choice. And so maybe we can, hold off a bit. And, if Daniel Levy does maybe, flunk this one, more bad PR for Daniel Levy at the end of the day. Again, something I probably don't care about. But also we miss out on Jed Spence, which I think, I'd be happy that we further pursue, a Nahuel Molina. I'd be happier that we further pursue, I don't know. Still, I want us to go after Ridley Baku, that Wolfsburg guy, but seems like we're never going to be linked with him. But Ribsy, do appreciate it, my man. And, I think, a lot of us might be in agreement with you there. But moving on from the Jed Spence, sort of haggling, we are going to move on to Kaladzic. And I think this one is also kind of quite fun because we're basically talking about Spurs going after a 6'5", 24-year-old Austrian. I've basically quoted him as being the Peter Crouch replacement, that we've been looking for some time. 15 matches played last season. He had a huge shoulder injury, Sean, 6 goals and 1 assist. The season before that, though, 33 matches played, 16 goals and 5 assists. So I think that was when he must have been 22 or 21 years old when he had those 16 goals and 5 assists. So the player is in there. It just seems like injuries have kind of hit him recently. He's valued around £22.5 million. His contract expires in 2023, which is next season. His agent has been reported to be in London meeting with English clubs, and his former Austria boss, Franco Foda, waxed lyrical about Kaladzic, saying he has developed extremely in the last few weeks and months and has taken momentum with him. Sean, Kaladzic, do you feel like Peter Crouch replacement? We always do well with big strikers.
Yeah. Like I don't know too much about the guy, to be honest. I looked him up earlier on. Obviously, it's nice to know that if he has got an injury, it's not going to be an injury like you'd imagine that shoulder injuries aren't going to be something that reoccurs too much. It's not like a hamstring injury. So hopefully you can put that to bed and not worry about it. Obviously, I wanted to sign Weghorst in January. I was a big fan of him before he went to Burnley. And I think he did a good job. I think he settled in. So if this guy's anything like him or like Peter Crouch, it does just give you something different. It does give you an option off the bench if you need to in the Champions League. If you need a late goal or something to stay in the competition, and you throw him on and make him as a target man, and then let hopefully Kulusevski or Sonny or whatever play off the side of him. To me, it sounds interesting. He looks like a good player. He's fairly highly rated. And his contract's out, so maybe you could go and get him on a real discount, So, I'm all for it. Listen, I don't know too much about him, but he's also scored some goals in the at national level as well. I think he scored half a dozen goals or something. So, and they weren't against awful teams. So, I think that it does sound interesting. It'd be nice to have that kind of the option where you could go big and go long.
Yeah, I kind of here's how I kind of look at things where. When this is getting a bit off topic here, but the big debate nowadays is Raphinha versus Richarlison. And the one part I think maybe people are missing about that debate is you still need to replace Steven Bergwijn regardless, because Steven Bergwijn's going out the door. So that means if you sign a Richarlison, ideally maybe he's like a backup striker or second striker sort of thing. So that means you would probably still want to sign a winger. Whereas if you sign Raphinha, you still need to probably sign another striker. So I see kind of Kaladzic being like, if you sign Raphinha, maybe you sign Kaladzic as sort of like the second striker. But to maybe think about homegrown sort of things, perhaps a Ben Brereton Diaz would not be a bad sort of shout, because I know I don't see too much of him, but I think he's sort of a big, I know he's not 6'5", dangly Peter Crouch look like Kaladzic, but he's also a big, powerful, sort of guy. Like, so I've heard as well, Ben Brereton Diaz. So that could be an interesting shout.
He's 6 foot, Ben Brereton Diaz. But Ben Brereton Diaz, we were talking about him.
I've heard he's just like kind of a big, strong, stocky. Like kind of, stocky, exactly.
Stocky fella. But he's someone who's continued to impress at the championship level with Blackburn. He was banging them in the first half of the season. And then we were talking about him in January as well, saying maybe he's someone that we could be looking at. And a lot of people were thinking, well, let's find out if his form continues in the second half of the season like it was in the first half. And he carried on. He carried on banging them in all the way through. I don't know how many goals he scored in the end. Let me have a quick look.
But you also think about, right, if we're going to be, often I'm probably guilty of only shouting out European, sort of suggestions, right? And I'm a bit probably like Paratici in that regard, where, I kind of my knowledge of sort of like, anything below the Premier League is pretty limited. So sometimes I feel like a Ben Brereton Diaz would be a good shout, because you do have to be considerate of homegrown reasons. And maybe, who knows, like with sort of the age that he's at, I think Brereton Diaz is also younger than like most probably expected. I think it's like 23. Who knows? Could be an interesting shout. I haven't seen too much of him, but like you said, the stocky, I think he has a bit of pace to a degree, not saying he's rapid or anything, but he has a bit of pace, I think, to a degree as well. Could be kind of Troy Deeney sort of vibes, for us. The Chilean Troy Deeney, the Chilean Troy Deeney.
Why not?
There you are.
He's got 22 goals. Did he get 22 goals in 30 appearances? Yeah, it's a good return, isn't it?
A lot of people liked your Weghorst shout, Sean, but the only thing I'm worried about that is just because I would take Weghorst as well. But I heard the reason he only went to Burnley was because a lot of teams wouldn't take him because of, I think, his stance on vaccinations and everything. So Perhaps maybe Spurs
okay.
feels somewhat similar. At least I saw some article about that. So that could be interesting to think about. And then Leslie saying Traore and Richarlison are more unwanted players. Yeah, I think especially at least Traore's case. But we are going to move on from Kaladzic, Ellie's favorite, I think, choice for that second striker. And it is a good one, Ellie. You'd be replacing the Peter Crouch, who we have yet to replace. I don't know how many 6'5", 6'6" strikers there are out there. So whichever opportunity we can get one, probably a good opportunity. But we are going to maybe switch gears from incomings and maybe just talk about, a bit of praise for, some of the players that we have at this moment in time. Ben Davies was actually talking about Sanchez and Tanganga and as well as Rodon. And an article from Rob Guest in the Football London discussed Ben Davies' praise for his fellow central defenders, despite their kind of expected departures, some may say, from the club. Davies said, I include everyone in that when he was talking about, their spectacular season. He said, Davinson Sanchez, Joe Rodon are great professionals. They work hard every single day. They came in and played some minutes too, as well as the likes of Christian and Eric Dyer. Japhet Tanganga also played his part before his injury. In the last couple of months, we went on a good run and didn't concede too many goals. I think we had a couple of late goals that were very disappointing, Brighton, Leicester, and if not for them, our record might look even better. But I think we've all adapted throughout the season and done really well together. And I must say, he has a good point here, Sean. Without a full season, even under Antonio Conte, Spurs still conceded the fourth fewest goals behind Chelsea, Liverpool, and Man City, which isn't a surprise. Do you feel like maybe, you and I as average Spurs fans, perhaps we maybe don't really recognize how good of a season, maybe that back line really had?
Well, listen, I have been saying over the last couple of weeks now, I think we're spending an awful lot of time focusing on getting a defender in and getting a striker in. And whilst I'm not over simplifying it, and I know that they're important positions to improve on, left-sided centre-back, to give Ben Davies some competition or to hopefully, relegate him to squad status. But I still think that we need to be focusing on right wing back, left wing back, and somewhere in the centre as well. I think they're more important because, and I've been saying this, for example, at the back, we only conceded 5 goals from our last 11 games, and we conceded 8 goals from our last 15 Premier League games. It's insane. The second half of the season, we did so well. Apart from that Manchester United game where Ronaldo put on a masterclass, that was the only goal. That was the only real shit show in the last half of the season, really, in terms of getting drubbed. And I just think that we do need to give the credit to the starting three at the centre backs. And Sanchez obviously came in. Sanchez was playing for the Manchester City game and did a really good job when we beat them at their place. I don't know how Joe Rodon didn't play. Did he? Joe Rodon played about 10 minutes of football, so I don't know how much credit we can give him. But
that's generous. Even those 10 minutes seem generous.
And Japhet Tanganga. How many? Japhet played, I think, a few games at the start of the season, didn't he? But I don't
played a few games at the start, and then he actually had a decent spell when I think there were a lot of players out, and then he really underwhelmed. Under Conte at one stage where he was making a few mistakes.
I'd throw Sanchez into the credit where it's due, alongside Romero, Davies, and Dyer. I'm not going to be quite as generous with Tanganga and Rodon. I think that they didn't play enough for me to give them. But Davies and Dyer and Romero were just absolutely fantastic. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And hopefully they'll continue to do it again next season.
What I kind of find funny about this is I kind of agree with you that sometimes I know we've been talking about, big signing has to be in the defense. Big signing has to be in the defense. I do kind of agree. I think there needs to be one major class defender that needs to come into this team. But for me, the defense was so good.
Yeah.
And David and I have said this before, that class defender does not need to be in Ben Davies' position. It could be in Eric Dyer's position if need be. I feel like it could, I think you still need to sign 2 center backs because at the end of the day, we only have one player that can play left-sided center back. That's Ben Davies. And when you really think about it, Davinson Sanchez is probably the only quality, maybe backup that probably most Spurs fans can agree on as maybe a good backup. So we probably still need to then sign someone that competes with Eric Dyer. But that then leaves you sort of kind of that trouble, whereas when you scored the 4th or you conceded the 4th fewest goals, you didn't even have a full season of Christian Romero, like Craig said. You didn't exactly even have a full season of Antonio Conte. Sometimes we might be underrating actually how good that defense really was, at least in terms of, not conceding goals, and at least in terms of that metric. So it does sort of make you think we do maybe I don't know, we don't have to focus so much on the defense, or we don't need to be so desperate to sign the defender right away, because the defense
I think
is
it's third in the priority list for me. It's like, I think for me, the right wing back, that's where I want to see us go and create a right club record signing. If you said right now, if you were to ask everyone in the comments as well, what position would you want to see a club record statement signing come in this summer? For me, right wing back all day long is more important for me than a striker being the world record signing or a defender. I'm not saying that strikers and defenders, we need help everywhere still, because we've got a long season and we still got a thin squad. But for me, I completely agree with you, Jack. It's not as I have more
faith. Needs to happen, but like we can take our time. We can take our time.
Also, whilst we're sitting there giving them credit, remember that we're giving them we should be giving them additional credit, because in a lot of games that he had Harry Winks. They had Harry Winks doing the job that no defender would want to see. He open, there's the door, go on, run through, right? And you still had to then defend.
Playing central mid and center back.
Harry Winks is the worst defender, the worst defensive
line in front of the defense. He's the worst man.
The worst you could possibly hope for. So they did that well in spite of him, So
he would have done better, Harry Winks, if he was a bit stockier, because I think then he could have probably blocked a few more shots, maybe, that he probably would have blocked.
Anything would have helped,
Paul Vamben, and honestly, like the hot takes here, Paul. Speak with your chest. Saying Daniel Levy has taken us from a mid-table occasional cup run team with a crap stadium that sold all its best players to where we are now. Legend.
Wow.
There you are, Paul. There you are, Paul.
That's a bit strong for me, that one.
That's a bit strong, Paul. Yeah. Paul, here's what I would say to you, Paul. On this channel, I think we very much, try to show both sides of the argument as much as we can. I think it's very clear that David stands quite harsh on the Levy out stance. He's had multiple streams, basically going on tirades about the guy, and we've had practically, the main faces of the Levy out movement on this channel. At the same time, we also, though, have a lot of people who maybe don't fall in that sort of camp, or at least don't fall in that sort of, rhetoric in terms of where Daniel Levy stands. And that's why I do kind of like this channel, at least for me, Sean, is that I feel like we do actually have good conversations in regards to Daniel Levy, because we don't really exactly, I don't know, we try to, not be as much of a bubble, I think, when it comes to the argument, regarding the guy. But I'll be honest, we do have some pretty, most of the people that are regularly on this channel are very much Levy out. But I will say it is nice that, people like yourself, and as well as maybe Paul here, stand for, their opinions. And I do like it, engages the conversation.
The only part of that statement I disagree with is the stadium, because I used to love White Hart Lane. It was cute. It was nice in its own way. It's obviously pales in comparison to the monster that we have now, but I did like White Hart Lane. But the rest of it, I agree. He has taken us miles forward. Progression, cups, trophies is not the only metric of success in my mind. I know it's not the same for everybody, but yeah, big up.
I'm not sure if I agree. I'm not sure if I agree, Craig, with most of it, but at the same time, the way things are going at this moment in time, I think it would be silly to not have the conversation about, is maybe Daniel Levy changing his ways, and are maybe Spurs like the best looking club for the next 10 years? That sort of conversation, I think, cannot be ignored, because it does look like Spurs are one of the best looking clubs in the next 10 years, if you were to make some sort of projection. And then on top of that, I think, where we stand at this moment in time, you have to, give him some credit for maybe changing his ways, at least somewhat changing his ways. But honestly, Craig, really do appreciate it. And, the second account as well, just switching accounts. Love that, Craig. Absolutely love it, brother. And do appreciate support as well, my man. And also thank you for the support. Dan N saying, a name that's only been said today with the Spence deal in doubt is Klaus. Yeah, from Lens. That's been, mentioned recently. Not sure why we haven't been in for him before. 5 goals and 11 assists in Liga. Yeah, I do feel like that is sort of like an interesting one. He's 29 years old, though, Dan. So I kind of felt like including this bit of news, because there was in Football London today, but 29-year-old French player, I think maybe he's French, I'm not sure, but 29-year-old from Liga. I know he's had spectacular numbers. That is ridiculous, numbers there. That's about as many goal contributions as Andy Robertson practically have when you really think about it. So
Another player from Ligue 1, mate. We don't want any more players coming from the French league, please. Not this season. Enough.
But 29 years old, that's the one thing that sort of turned me off about, turn me off about Klaus for me, Sean. Or it made me feel like it wasn't realistic for us to get him if he's 29 years old.
Yeah. This is a player, but like I say, it's like I don't even know if Lens are particularly how good they are. I don't watch the French league that much. I did check out the highlight reel. Does look like an okay player, but the fact that he's 29 and he hasn't been on our radar or anybody's radar really before, I don't know. I think we can still do better. But I've just got my heart set on another man from the French league. Hakimi. I just want us to go and see him. I want us to go.
Sorry about that, Paul. Craig played me as a fool. Played me as a fool. I'm not even sure, he just said Paul Bambit is my second account. No, I guess I didn't get it at Paul, and you take me for a fool, my man. Don't fool me twice, because then I'll look even more ridiculous. But Dan, really appreciate support as well, my man. And I must say, that's the only reason I think those are spectacular numbers you can't argue with, even if it is sort of Ligue 1. It's just the idea that he's 29 years old for me. It just makes me feel like it's not happening. But big up, Dan, and do appreciate it. And we are going to keep moving on from this sort of, kind of praise, that Ben Davies had. And we're going to, I think, talk about, let me see what I have up next. Bissouma almost went to Liverpool is the other bit of news. An article in the National claims that Liverpool passed or are passing on the signings of Bissouma, Tielemans, and Calvin Phillips this summer. It claims that they were focused on other deals, but supposedly, Sean, they were fully confident they could have landed the signature of Bissouma in particular very easily if they wanted to. Is this more Liverpool jealousy and Karen Klopp tears, or is this like maybe something that we do have to consider, that there is a possibility he could have gone to Liverpool?
Yeah, of course. Like, he's a class player. He's certainly going to improve nearly every team in the Premier League. And if Liverpool had come calling, Bissouma doesn't love Tottenham like us, so Liverpool can offer him a higher probability of trophies and silverware. So it wouldn't surprise me. It's unfortunate, but at the moment Tottenham are not the biggest draw for players that don't have any affiliation to Tottenham, and it's just another club. Then there are clubs out there that if they come calling, you probably go there ahead of Tottenham, and Liverpool's one of them. So if I would imagine that if there's any truth, if what they're saying is true, yeah, it does make sense. If Liverpool went now, we could have had you, but we didn't want you, don't need you, so it's okay. I'm okay with it anyway. Like, I don't mind. I don't expect Bissouma to go, no, Tottenham are the only club for me. It's fine. Just come in, do a good job, mate, and I'll be fine with it.
It's nice to know, like everybody was in after him, he picked you, it's one of those, makes you feel good, sort of moments, Sean. And I must say the Karen Klopp tears, I think, is probably a bit of, a moment in this, because they were saying, oh, we were just focused on other deals. We could have landed him if we wanted to. It's just one of those things, like, if I just put on the right boots that day, I could have played for Man United, sort of things. Yeah. It's just, I don't know. It just seems like very much classic.
Didn't want him anyway.
We got Thiago, didn't want him anyway. Paul Markey with a super chat saying, two
center halves.
Thank you. Sorry. Two center halves are a must to give us depth like in midfield. And yes, we should prioritize right wing back, left wing back, and attacking midfielder. I think Paul is touching on where I was saying, like, you still have to sign two center backs at the end of the day, but maybe where the point lies is you don't maybe need to sign two world-class center backs, I would feel like, in both areas, because the defense was so good last season, Paul, that I feel like you could get away with, I don't know, Longley. I know we're not going to get Bremer, but like, just for argument's sake, let's say Longley. I don't know why we're not going to get Bremer or something. Yeah,
I don't know why we're not going to go after him. Like, Inter Milan are stalling. Inter Milan are like
they're taking their sweet time.
They're taking their sweet time, and it's slowing everything down. Just go round them. Go and bid 35 for Bremer, or do that.
You know
deal.
What I'm saying? Like, you signed one that's like a Longley, that's a backup for Ben Davies. That is good competition, but a backup. And then you have someone like a Bremer, who's more that big marquee sort of center back signing. You don't need a Bremer and a Pau Torres. I just feel like the defense. I mean, hot take here. I actually feel like the defense was that good. It seems a bit crazy to go Pau Torres plus Bremer or something like that. I probably would actually do Pau Torres plus like a Longley. I think that would be actually quite clever of us, because I do really like Pau Torres. The more that I think people like Zoe and stuff in the chat. Yeah, a lot of people I feel like have been kind of pointing out that, they've watched one game of Pau Torres and then they've rated their whole, sort of like experience of Pau Torres off of one game. And I know like that's how a lot of us are. Like, believe me, I'm the same way with certain players too, like especially players like Scamacca. I watched one game of Scamacca and I, loved that guy.
Fell in love,
But it's one of those things where I think like there's a bit of a narrative against Pau Torres that's a bit harsh, if you ask me, like considering like he is a class center back. And the majority
I based my opinion on him based on the stats, looking over the last 2.5 years, and he just he like I said 1,000 times I know stats are stats, so you can't read too much into it, but just on the stats, he did come last on pretty much every single meaningful stat compared to Ben Davies and then the 5 other defenders that we were looking at.
Interesting.
So
well, he is a looker maybe as well. That's probably on top of it, as well about Torres. But you have to get the 2 center backs, Paul. Right wing back. This is the thing. Like I'm in agreement with Sean. Like I would be sort of silly if I then went back on what I said about the wing backs. I feel like the wing backs, you need to spend a lot of money on the wing backs just simply because that is where teams were targeting us. Like our wing backs were so poor last season that we need to get instant quality in there. And then attacking midfielder still needs to be done as well. Completely agree, Sean. Or completely agree, Paul. My big up, Paul, though. Do appreciate support. I definitely agree with you, brother. And then also he says, you do, Jack, Rodon and Tanganga aren't good enough. Yeah, I feel like Rodon and Tanganga probably aren't good enough. And Tanganga, if I'm going to be honest, needs to probably be put out on loan or maybe kept around, though, for homegrown reasons, Paul. I feel like we have to take that into consideration. If we don't sign enough homegrown players, he might need to be kept around for that reason, which is actually quite sad, I must say, for some English players. The homegrown reason is sometimes keeping them prisoner, at clubs for that reason as well.
That's a good point. That is a good point.
Yeah. There you are, Paul. I think Tanganga is going to maybe have to stick around, perhaps for homegrown reasons, but do appreciate it, brother. But yeah, there you are, everybody. Just talking about the Bissouma almost going to Liverpool. Now we're going to talk about Paratici, who is apparently enjoying his time over in Italy, but not as much on vacation like Steve Hitchen was. He's actually doing some business over there. The 22-year-old forward that Paratici is interested in has a big admirer in our director of football, who is reportedly in Italy to discuss a potential deal for the player. And former Roma striker Roberto Pruzzo said if a bid equivalent to 50 million euros came in for Zaniolo, that the club should take it. Speaking to Pruzzo, he told via the Evening Standard, that if someone's willing to spend 50 million euros on Zaniolo, I'll think about it. But then you'd need to find somebody who scores more than him. If, for example, you collect that amount and sign Berardi and another midfielders, the fans might appreciate it and understand it. All things considered, though, he did go on to say he'd rather keep Zaniolo. I wouldn't risk it. He still has 2 years on his contract. And if it helps him improve next season, you can sell him for even more next season for 70 million euros. I mean, Zaniolo, 6'2", 22 years old. Last season, played 28 games, but only scored 2 goals and 1 assist, played in 10 matches. And then I would say, 28 matches played in the Serie A, 10 matches, though, in the Conference League, Sean, and he had 5 goals and 3 assists in those 10 matches in the Conference League. That's where he really kind of, lit up this last season. But the season before that, 26 matches played in Serie A, 6 goals and 2 assists. And then in the Europa League, he had 7 matches played, 2 goals and 2 assists there. So my one thing is that despite Zaniolo being a terrific talent, he's never really hit like world-class numbers at any stage yet, which is kind of the worry.
Also, I'm not entirely sure if they know what his best position is. I was looking at this earlier.
That's true.
He played literally the first half of the season. The first half of last season, he started out as an attacking midfielder. Then he went to second striker role. And then about the halfway point, about January, he then decided to they put him out on the right wing, and he played every game then as a right winger. And look, that's not necessarily a bad thing if you have someone who can play in both. But you're right, his stats don't light the world up or anything. So I get 45 million euros. I'm still trying to figure out what the market like. Is Richarlison at 65 million or Zaniolo at 45 million euros? Like that suggests that the market's quite inflated. But then you look at these other deals like Bissouma we got for 29 million, and that suggests that the market is quite deflated. And that some, and I know that Bissouma was his contract. He only had a year left, so that obviously pulled that down. But I'm trying to figure out where the market is and what's good value. And I don't know if Zaniolo's worth 45 million euros. You know, he's a young player. He's got lots of potential and talent, but I don't know, 45 million. What else could you go and what else could you get done with 45 million? Where else would you go and spend your money?
I just feel like, you know, with Zaniolo, like there is a player in there. Like there is an unbelievable player in there. He's actually probably, I don't know if he's like a Sergei sort of player, you know, where it's like, but he is that big, you know, creative midfielder that you know, sometimes kind of like, you know, someone that, you know, can kind of command space and be a bit more powerful, can shove players off the ball, you know, while carrying it. And he does have a decent finish on him at times, Zaniolo. But at the same time, he's had huge injury troubles his whole career. And at the same, like you said, like what's his real position? Like with Jose, he plays sometimes as a right wing. He'll play as almost like a second striker. At other times, he'll play like as a more of a number 10. To be fair, he always looks good whenever you watch him, but like it's just a big concern for me is like the numbers, like injuries. At least just in terms of but the numbers and the injuries. But I just need to see just at least like a 10 goals and 6 assists in the Serie A or something like that, you know, at the end of a season. I think that's what would really make me want to push for him. I think we all know the player is in there and we all see that player just from our seeing eye test, but I just want to maybe pick him up maybe after he has like a big season, you know, when he's really feeling confident about himself. That's how I feel at least personally about it. But
I concur.
Paratici is a big admirer and you can't really blame him. You can't really blame him at all. I do feel like I see that. I'm just going back in the chat. Sorry, everybody. I'm going back and forth between my script and, you know, between the chat. So everybody, I do apologize not getting the comments up as much as we normally do. But I'm hearing words that maybe Brian Daigle's birthday is perhaps today.
It was yesterday.
Happy birthday, Miss. It was yesterday, but happy belated birthday, brother. Honestly, very good. And also, you didn't even tell me because you were just on the show yesterday as well, Mr. Daigle. That was very, very sly of you. I tried to do the same thing. But David and I think Nick, you know, released it to everybody. That was my birthday. So it ends up, you know, just getting absolutely flooded. But happy birthday, brother. I'll send a card in the mail to you, brother. I'll send a card in the mail. But everybody, do keep smashing that like button. Do keep putting in your comments in. I do apologize about not getting up on screen. It's just I'm trying to, you know, put my own kind of thoughts on these kind of good news as well as, you know, keeping Sean engaged as well as, you know, kind of just keeping the show going because we still do have to put that link up in just a few minutes time for people to come on. And we just have a few more news to get through. But Paul Markey saying best available forward out there is Dybala and the transfer fees been asked for others would pay his wages. It's a no-brainer. He's definitely in the big Dybala, you know, or nothing sort of camp. And I must say,
another injury-prone player, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but he does put up pretty ridiculous numbers even when he is injured, I must say. Like, you know, he'll put up pretty crazy numbers even with an injury, you know, kind of ridden season. In the case of Dybala, though, Paul, I feel like he's made it clear that he doesn't want to go to the Premier League by the looks of it. He seems to have put maybe his heart with the Serie A and Inter Milan. You know, like Sean was saying, we're all just waiting for Inter Milan, you know, to do their business because everybody wants to leave there. Everybody wants to go there, but they're just stalling, you know, the train station over there. And Paul, as much as I want to, you know, prove, you know, as much as want to give you hope that he could come to Spurs, I think it's not happening, my man. I just don't think there's a single chance we're getting him just because he doesn't even want to come to Spurs by the looks of it. He wants to go to Inter Milan. He wants to stay in the Serie A. He wants to stay in Italy by the looks of it. And maybe it is a no-brainer considering the wages and the fees that we'd be paying for Richarlison. Now that we're paying 65 million for Richarlison, perhaps maybe a Dybala could make a bit more sense. But I don't know. Like Sean, Dybala's just not happening. I just hate to disappoint Paul, but it's just not happening.
Yeah, I don't think it's happening either. But
it's not even our fault. I think it's, you know, Dybala's, you know, it's just Dybala's decision. You know, it's not even our fault. At least a lot
of Italian players don't want to leave Italy, you know, for whatever reason. It seems to be a common theme. You know, I asked you a minute ago, what else would you do with 45 million if you didn't weren't going to go after Zaniolo? My man Brains McLeod in the chat said for 45 million you could get what did he say? Indica. Here we go. 45 million. Oh, so I can't click on it. 45 million gets you Kostic and Indica. That's a better way to spend 45 million, isn't it? Go and get that done.
It is a much better way. You also fix it. There it is. Big up, Brains. Good to see you in the chat, my man. Sorry that I missed you. 45 million gets you Kostic and Indica. And Dika, I must say, I don't know if you saw, like any highlight packages of him, Sean, or, even seeing any of his stats. Like this guy is
looks
an
the business.
absolute menace. Like,
Yeah.
like just physically, like it seems like someone you would never want to try to dribble it past. You just almost kind of Van Dyke sort of way where you just kind of just want to leave him alone, just kind of dribble somewhere else, kind of away from him. He's that imposing. He seemed pretty decent on the ball as well. And then with Kostic, you're getting one of the best left wing backs in the world at this moment in time, and I feel like that'd be much better money
and
spent.
If you
and honestly, Brains, it probably would be less than 45 million. It probably might even be less than 45 million for those two.
But if you were then to get Kostic in, you then got Perisic, where you can play him, in the second striker role if you need to. You can play him anywhere. Yeah. You play Perisic literally anywhere on the pitch, and he'll do a job for you. But I just think going after someone like Kostic, I can 100% agree. That's the way you want to spend your 45 million. And Dika, beast. Kostic, insane. Then you can release Perisic into backup striker, into the creative role. You can put him on the right wing back. He can't play in two positions at once on the pitch, so you have to have him only one position. But by having Kostic in, it allows you to put Perisic wherever you want. And that, love that suggestion. Brains.
And also with Kostic, you get a backup itch as well, Brains, because you need a backup center back for every position, you need a backup right wing back for every position. You also need a backup itch. Now that we have Perisic, you need a backup itch. So it's just it's just basic logic. I'm pretty sure I don't even need to be telling Paratici this. He already knows this.
Yeah,
he already knows this. Paratici, though, is apparently in Italy, everybody, to also perhaps discuss the departures of Joe Rodon and Bryan Gil. Fabrizio Romano yesterday at around 10 p.m. your time, Sean, tweeted out saying Tottenham director Fabio Paratici is in Milano, where Sampdoria have asked for Bryan Gil on loan. He's also a target for Olympique Lyon, but no decision has been made. Early stages, many clubs want Bryan Gil Messi. My words, not his. Paratici also met with Roma director Tiago Pinto to discuss about Joe Rodon, as per Di Marzio. I feel like maybe we start with Joe Rodon here, kind of, Sean, because also the Evening Standard are reporting that, Jose Mourinho does want Joe Rodon, amid his Tottenham exit. Do you feel like Joe Rodon could actually head to Roma? I feel like that would be a hilarious career move for him.
We were talking about this earlier on Sava's show. Like, it's not the only one that's English players that have gone, English centre-backs that have gone over. Chris Smalling obviously went over to Roma and made a fairly decent success of it. I don't see why not. It'd be interesting hearing a Welsh man speak with an Italian or a Welsh accent trying to take on Italian would be quite something to hear. I don't see why not. I honestly don't know what to make of Joe Rodon. I've always thought he's done okay when he's come on for Tottenham. I don't know why he hasn't had the game time before. But there's obviously something in it that's something that 3 managers or 4 managers didn't seem to like in him or haven't seen enough in him. So I'm happy for Joe Rodon if that's the place where we can go and get some money. I don't know why we'd choose Italy. Surely, as someone in England would probably rather have him, and then there's more money to be found because the Italian league is suffering from financial difficulties generally. And in terms of Bryan Gil, I don't think you're ever going to see Bryan Gil pull on a Tottenham shirt again. So I think this will be just a case of loaning him out to try and get someone to bite and then buy him with an obligation to buy next summer. As much as I like Bryan Gil, I don't think he fits the Conte system. Unless Conte leaves and the next guy comes in and says, no, Bryan Gil will fit my system, then we'll never know. But I'd rather Bryan Gil leave than Conte left. So
yeah. In the case of Joe Rodon, though, I mean, I feel like for him to go from Tottenham to Roma would be like the best career move switch for him. And if I'll be honest, I've never really rated Joe Rodon very highly. I feel like he was never a top 4 center back from whenever I've seen him play. Just technically, not even a top 4 center back, just the way that he is on the ball. Kind of the way I've seen him like clear, his lines, Sean, when there's kind of like really no pressure at all. He feels like sort of a defense first only center back and nothing much more than that. And so it kind of just worries me about him making a move to even a Roma, where he will have to be in a more technically gifted sort of league as a center back. It's not just clearing your lines, throwing your body on the line all the time. I feel like it might be a bit more than that. So I am worried, to see how he will make that transition. Whereas I think if he had gone to a Nottingham Forest, that might have been actually a really good move for him. But at the end of the day, who wouldn't want to take that move to Roma to play further under Jose?
Yeah, it'd be amazing.
And then do you feel like, though, just quickly, still on Joe Rodon here, I feel like Tanganga, if you were to fix the homegrown issue, Tanganga should be the one going to Roma, I feel like, to develop him, maybe.
Well, again, I'd rather he stayed in England as well, because I think the Italian league, I don't see the point really in loaning players to foreign leagues unless you
I disagree. The point I'm trying to say is I think Tanganga needs like maybe a foreign experience, like needs sort of like to develop his, technical side of his game, maybe someplace else, like at a Roma or something, because I think maybe he's more again in that Joe Rodon mold where I feel like he's so powerful, so defense first and everything that he needs to figure out other sides of the game that involve actually creativity and doing things with the ball. And maybe he would learn that elsewhere. But then again, if you get rid of Tanganga, you're getting rid of a major homegrown player, that you would have to replace.
I don't want us to sell. I like Tanganga. I think he had a bit of a wobbly season. Not everything comes. I think a lot of people have jumped the gun on him a little bit too soon, and thinking that he's not good enough. I think he started well. And then I think he had a little bit of a wobble, and he obviously got injured, and he hasn't come back yet. But I think there's definitely a player there, and I would love to see him. Just quickly, I just want to quickly Welsh girl saying back up off the Welsh, Sean. I wasn't saying that in a negative way. I adore the Welsh. I adore Welsh people, and I love the Welsh accent. It's my favourite accent in the world. South Welsh accent. I used to live in Bristol, and all my flatmates were Welsh, and I used to absolutely adore it. So I wasn't being nasty.
No, I'm glad you cleared that up, Sean. You need to clear that up, with Welsh girl, because you do. I mean, honestly, she's absolute. She's almost holding it down here in the Harris Army, so you don't want to be on her bad side.
I'm not trying to be on her bad side.
But the other part was Bryan Gil, and he's apparently headed to Sampdoria instead of Marseille. Just quickly, Sean, I kind of had a bit of a rant here before. I actually feel like I know people want him to go to the Premier League. I know people want him to, go to the Championship. I feel like actually a loan to Marseille is not as bad as people think. That manager they have over there is I think is George Sampaoli, that Argentinian guy. He's that really small, bald-headed, guy who was over at Sevilla a while ago where he was pretty successful. Right. They just finished second, in Liga. They had a great season over there, playing really nice-looking football. They went pretty far, as we know, in the Europa Conference League. Saliba had one of the best seasons, of any player like on loan. Guendouzi has done really well. I feel like, maybe Champions League football next season for Bryan Gil and, occasion and a lot of Liga games might actually be better for him than like just lower level Premier League or Championship. Like him playing in Champions League games plus Liga games like week in, week out could be really good for him, I think.
I don't know. I mean, how many Champions League games is he? Probably
he'll get six. You get the total of six, because then they'll get knocked out of the group stage, and then
and there's no guarantee he's going to play in all of them, but he'll play. He'll play in a few of them. But I think that for me, look, if there's a player in Bryan Gil that we would like to keep at some point, we need to see him do it in the Premier League or do it in the English system. I think you need to. If he goes to the Championship for half a season or goes to someone like a Nottingham Forest or Fulham, somewhere where he can learn the Premier League pace and strength that's required and make it happen, but do it in the Premier League. There's no benefit. Like, I didn't understand sending him back to Spain last season. We know that he fits the Spanish system well. We signed him from there because we didn't learn anything about Bryan Gil last season that we didn't already know. What we need to see now is, can he handle the pace and the structure of English top flight football? And so for me, I respectfully disagree. I don't want to see him go to Liga, and I want to see him figure it out in the UK. Or
me. I like to make it harder.
No, I get it. But if the plan is just to let him go, and there's a chance where you could like to loan him with an obligation to buy, then that's fine as well, because I don't see him really coming back. But
I just keep my, little managers that, like Sampaoli, I just love. And, if I see the opportunity for one of my players, to, hop on and, maybe join that, revolution that they're doing, I'll take it any stage. But that's just me being probably pretty biased towards Sampaoli. Absolutely love that guy. But let's move on. Last two bit of news, Sean, then we're going to let you go, I promise. Christian Eriksen. Apparently, just quickly, Football London understands the talks between Tottenham have not taken place for 2 weeks between the club and Christian Eriksen. And it currently looks like that it's very unlikely that the midfielder will be returning to North London on a permanent basis. Did this move at one stage, though, seem imminent to you? It did to me.
Yeah, it's a strange one. I can only imagine that, he wants massive wages and that because he's probably not going to play more than 30-40% of the games, 3-4-3 would be. I know he can play on the right, but he'll be battling it out with Kulusevski. And the few times he go 3-5-2 or he'll come off the bench, I can only imagine that it's because we've had a conversation and his agent has said he wants 300 grand a week or something silly because it's his last big payday. And he knows that there's, anybody else out there of his caliber is going to cost 50 million if you go to the usual market. But Conte and Paratici have thought, if that's your level, then it's not in our, you're not that important to us. So it seems odd. It seems odd to me. He does seem like he'd be something that could really be useful off the bench. But I think also he's, like I said the other day, I feel like on my streams, I put the clock in the thumbnail. I was like, is game time more of a draw than we think it is? And we are unfortunately at Tottenham, Gabriel Jesus, there's no way he would choose Arsenal over Tottenham unless it's because of game time. There's no way Raphinha would choose Arsenal over Tottenham. There's no way Eriksen would choose United over Tottenham unless they want to play. And they're going to play more at Manchester. Eriksen will play nearly every game at Manchester United. Jesus will play every single game at Arsenal, right? So will Sterling at Chelsea probably because they need help on the left. So for me, I feel like playing time is a bigger draw than we probably give it credit for. And at Tottenham, as much as we want there to be competition for places like there is at Manchester City, I don't think it's necessarily as simple as that. I think a lot of players will just prefer to go to a team where they know that they're going to start 90% of the games. And
just quickly, are you relieved maybe that we might not actually be signing him in a way? Are you relieved, disappointed?
No, I'm disappointed actually. I'd like him back. Yeah. But you know what? I said this on Spurs Related on James's channel. Yeah. If he comes back, I'll cheer him and get behind him. If he decided to go to Manchester United or turned us down, if we put an offer in and he turned us down and went to Manchester United, he's dead to me. I'm going to remember all of the way that he finished in the last season of his time with Tottenham, and now he's had the chance to come back and put some things right, and he chose Man United over Tottenham. Dead to me, Christian Eriksen. You don't get a round of applause when you come back to White Hart Lane next season. You get booed by this man.
I love that. There you are.
You're either with me or against me, Christian. You're either with us or against us.
Look out. Watch this space, Christian. Watch this space. Seb Aller is apparently on his way to Dortmund, everybody, which sort of triggers then, the move for Ajax to go after Bergwijn. Sebastian Aller, according to Fabrizio Romano, is about to undergo his medical test with Borussia Dortmund today. The deal completed for 35 million euros fee to Ajax with add-ons included. Official statement pending from Dortmund. Aller's contract has been agreed in every detail, just waiting for the signature. The Evening Standard have come out last night to report that Ajax are ready to break their own transfer record fee in order to sign Bergwijn through the door. Their original transfer record was, in fact, for Sebastian Aller to take him from West Ham for £20.5 million. Sean, this is just quickly maybe about Bergwijn. Do you see him making an eventual comeback to the Premier League at some stage in his career?
Coming back to the Premier League? Quite possible. I think the Bergwijn, there's a fantastic player in there. I think he just needs to go somewhere where he's going to be the hero. I think he'll have a fantastic World Cup. This is what I was saying. I feel like I would like to see us have... rather than like haggling for 22 million or 25 million or whatever we would get for him and worrying about 2 million now, I'd rather meet them in the middle, do it at their price, but insert like a 15% sell-on clause, because I do think that in 2-3 years' time, that Bergwijn will be maybe worth 50, 60 million quid. I do think he has the potential to go on and bag 20 goals for Ajax this season. He could probably go and score 3 or 4 in the World Cup, and all of a sudden you've got a player that's valued at 50, 60 million. And then in a couple of years' time, he'll want to move on from Ajax and go wherever. He could go to Germany, he could go to Spain, or even back to the Premier League. But that's when I want Tottenham to get their 10% or 15% sell on, because I feel like we're letting go of a guy who is, understandably, we're letting go. I don't mind him leaving at all, but I think we are letting go of a very good, talented player for pretty small money, if I'm honest.
Yeah. And the other thing that's kind of interesting here is that, Van Gaal did say that he does want, his players, for the national team to have regular football. And it seems like at this moment in time, Bergwijn, that's like his main way to probably get back onto the world stage. So I did kind of write down here that maybe in order for Bergwijn to sort of get back into like the world's eyes is that he has a really good World Cup, with the Dutch national team. Then he can maybe get, I don't know, in a year or two from there, maybe he moves on from Ajax for some huge fee or something like that. So I don't know. This is maybe a good step back for Bergwijn to maybe take a huge step forward, for him. Maybe that's how you look at it. But everybody, that is kind of the end of the news. Let me know what you kind of think of all the news that we did discuss. And here's the big thing here, everybody. Sean has filled in for David today. He has put in a huge shift. So everybody, show Spurs Talk Show the support that it deserves. I'm just going to be kind of spamming the link, so there basically is no excuse. It doesn't even take you away from the stream, like Sean says. Doesn't even take you away from the stream. Just hit that link, smash the big glaring red button right in front of your face, and then come back over here and then smash that like button. But Sean, really do appreciate you coming on. Appreciate you putting in the shift today while David is gone. Anything to say about your channel or anything to say, but before I let you go?
No, just thanks for having me, guys. Have a wonderful weekend. I'm not sure when I'll be going live again, as is with my channel. You should probably hit the notification bell because I go live very impromptu.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I wake up some days and go, it's 10:35. I go, I'm going to go live at 10:45. Let's see what happens. And then, like yesterday, I was still streaming at like 7 p.m. 7 hours later. So
smash the gray button as well. That little kind of very small gray button next to the red one as well, so you don't miss them. But there you are. Really do appreciate you coming on, Sean. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, my man.
Thanks, mate. Speak to you soon. Love you, man. Take care.
All right.
See you guys.
Catch you, Sean. All right, everybody. Everybody do smash that link for Spurs Talk Show. Show him the support that he deserves. Put in a huge shift today. But we are going to make a bit of a shift now over to the fan show here, everybody, where we're pretty much just going to be covering all these bit of news that I just kind of had right in front of me here that we were discussing with Sean. And so anything that you feel like we missed, anything that you might strongly disagree with, anything you would disagree with, that's why we're going to have you on here. I'm just going to see. And Ellie, if I'm going to go with you first, if that's okay. Alrighty, Ellie, we're going to bring you on first. Hey,
Hello.
Ellie.
Hello. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on.
You sound great, Ellie. It's like a new mic or
yes,
something. You sound fantastic.
Because I've got a booster upstairs, so hopefully it will hold strong.
Love that. Love that. All right. Well, anything that we missed today, Ellie? Anything that maybe you were annoyed that I said or Sean said? Any of the topics? Paratici, he's having a vacation in Italy to maybe get Zaniolo. Anything on your mind here?
Yeah, no, just what Sean said about Levy. I think the fans, we bring in the money. I made a comment in there and it was agreed by a lot of people. So I like that. But because we are the club, the fans are the club. Bill Nicholson said it. If without our money, they're nothing. So, we should have a big power in the club. We're not just watching the team. We've got our say. And I'm sure the Spurs people are watching this, because the IrishHotspur, you're the most famous channel, aren't you? And the best channel, I must say.
Do you feel like, what we were saying earlier about, maybe Daniel Levy haggling over this Jed Spence thing? I kind of said, Ellie, that out of all the players to haggle over, I'm not really too mad that maybe he's haggling over this player, because I would rather him haggle over a player that maybe isn't our favorite choice versus him haggling over like a Raphinha or something like that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, agreed. That's why they've let him do it, because we need to get some homegrown, because we've got 6, we need 8. So we need 2 more. All right. So Jed Spence, I quite like him, what I've seen. I quite like him. The fans that are commenting, I get their point that he's not top notch yet, but nor was Carl Walker.
Yeah.
When he first came, we put him on loan quite a few times. Nor was Harry Kane. Yeah, Harry Kane wasn't the finished article. We put him on loan to 3 different teams or 4 different teams in a short space of time, and he came back a man. So we've got to give this player his dues, give him a chance, for God's sake, and he'll be a Spurs man. He'll be raring to go because he's come to a big club. I'm not saying Nottingham Forest are not a big club, but they're not quite what we are. So give the boy a chance. He's only 21. He's got time to grow.
And apparently he wants to play for Spurs as well,
yes.
Ellie. And the fact that we're haggling over this deal, does that maybe send them the wrong message to Jed Spence? Do you feel like that we're haggling over this so much?
Well,
I hope he did say he wants to play for us.
I hope he's got a good head on his shoulders and he's a strong lad. He's been brought up well. If he's been brought up well, he won't take that to heart, because Conte will take him under his wing anyway, right? Because he'll want him to get up to scratch in terms of fitness and strength. That's 2 big things for Conte. He wants all these players to be super fit and super strong. And like, I was watching a video earlier of Sessegnon. Oh my God, the strength that he's working on, because he needs that strength to get past the players, because the football's confidence as well. You've got to have confidence. And Jed Spence has got massive confidence to take on his player, which is good, right? And he'll only get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. Moondog saying good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Moondog. The Flat Cap Army is in the house.
Moondog. Thank you for my Højbjerg plaque. It's so lovely.
He's a
It's
generous
got pride
man,
of place. Oh my God, he's so lovely.
Big up, Moondog. Hopefully you're enjoying your
I
Friday
got him in
afternoon.
trouble by
Thanks for
saying
tuning
that.
in. What do you think, or what do you think of the Kaladzic, rumor? I think you've been saying this is your ideal, striker to, back up Harry Kane, right?
Do you know what? I've been watching him as well, as I said before, Jack. This is not the first time I've mentioned him. And he's a good player. I mean, like I said, there was a person who said he's crap. But I watched him and he's not crap. He's got good feet. He's brilliant in the air. He can provide something off the bench. When we're struggling to score a goal, because sometimes even the best of teams struggle to score a goal. Right, except for Man City, there's something else, right? But if we're struggling, we bring him on, and he'll put fear into defences because he's 6'6". He's nearly 6'7", and
I think I'm actually underselling him. I think he is 6'6". I said 6'5".
Yeah,
it might be more than that. You're right.
Well, I looked him up. It said 6.6.7. So he's nearly 6'7", right? So, but he's technically good. He's got really quick feet. He's not like one of these
lanky... pretty interesting goals, like for a big guy, he scores some pretty funny goals.
Really good goals as well. Excellent goals with both feet, and he can head the ball. Obviously, 6'6", so he's not going to have much trouble heading the ball. But
he's not very donkey-ish,
he'll give us something.
I feel like he's not very donkey-ish.
Strong.
Yeah, and he's more
not a
technically
donkey.
Gifted. He's not a donkey.
Yeah,
I must say, Ellie, I'm a big fan of the donkeys. I always like a good donkey.
Sometimes it's nice to have someone different. We could bring him in as a backup because he won't mind playing backup either. There's someone like Richarlison will demand the start. He will. He'll be pushing Kulu to push him out the team, which is good because it's competition for Kulu and it will keep him on his toes as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree, actually, Ellie. And, what do you think of this then? If you were to go for a Kaladzic, does that mean you would get like a Raphinha as like, that big marquee, forward signing? So you would, instead of Richarlison, maybe you're like Raphinha plus Kaladzic. That sounds pretty good on paper.
Yeah, because I've been hearing a lot of fans say St. Maximin, but Raphinha's better. He is. He's a step up.
I like Raphinha more too.
Yeah, I do. I can get why people like St. Maximin because he's got skills, and he can take on his player. But Raphinha is more refined and he's a very intelligent player. He knows when to pass. He knows when to release the ball. He's very good at crossing. He's brilliant. When he's beating his man, he leaves them for dead. I've been watching a lot of him lately as well because I think if we get him, it'll be a coup. I really like him. He's such a good player and he'll create a lot of goals for us.
Oh, yeah. Do you feel like versus St. Maximin, he works harder than St. Maximin, right? That's what maybe I like about him more personally. He works harder than him.
And he's got a bit of shithousery about him as well, which I like. I like a player who's a bit like Højbjerg and a bit like Richarlison.
I know Kuva
we had
too,
Lamela and we let him go, didn't we? So
yeah.
But the thing is, with Lamela, he never had an end product and not really, and he never knew when to release the ball. He wasn't an intelligent footballer, whereas Raphinha is, and he's got the skills. Yeah, I like him
against
a lot.
My thinking too, Ellie, is that I know with Richarlison, maybe it makes sense because he can play as a backup striker, he can play as a left winger, but I don't know if he's exactly an upgrade on Kane and Son, where I know we all love, our ginger from Sverige. I know we all love our ginger from Sverige, but
of course.
I feel like Raphinha is very good competition for Kulusevski. Like that is good competition there.
It'll keep him on his toes because Kulu, when he got dropped, he came back fighting, even if it was just for one match, and then he was subbed. Right, he came on for Mora. I can't remember the game, but he came on for Mora, and he looked like he wanted to show Conte that you're never going to drop me again, you know, because he's got a bit of shithousery about him as well. Kulu, I like that and he's only 21. He's going to get even better and better, that player. I love him. And he can score a goal as well. We've got a lot of goal scorers. If we bring in Raphinha, we've got Perisic who can score on the other side. We'll be banging them in like Man City. I'm telling you, we'll compete with them.
Absolutely. And then Moondog just saying, you and Jack are very welcome. Really do appreciate you, Moondog. Absolutely love you, my man. And I actually have my Højbjerg just behind the shoulder over here, Ellie. Just behind the shoulder. That's where my Højbjerg is. Because, you know, I wake up right here, you know, stare immediately at, you know, Højbjerg's face every time I wake up. So not even seeing the misses, you know, first. I actually see Højbjerg's face when I wake up, you know, first every day. So
maybe you should propose to him.
Maybe hopefully she doesn't notice that, you know, the reason it's set up, you know, at that direct angle, you know, every time. So hopefully she doesn't notice it yet.
Well, he's a good looking lad, isn't he?
Good one to wake up to, definitely for sure. But you know, last two kind of, you know, topics here for you, Ellie. You know, what have you made of the fact that Joe Rodon is, you know, potentially being sold over to Jose? Do you think that could actually happen? Joe Rodon and Jose combining again?
Yeah, I made a comment in the chat. I said he must have kept Mourinho's mobile number on his phone. And he's tapped him up already and he's going, come on, Paratici, we're taking the flight over to Italy to have a pizza and to sign for Roma.
Yeah, maybe they had some relationship we never knew about. Yeah, Joe and Jose. That'd be kind of interesting.
I know, because Rodon looks like he likes his food, doesn't he? He's a big lad. Yeah, I don't think he just eats salads.
He's got the nice tattoos, I think, for a Serie A center back as well. You know, he looks like he could fit the role, you know, quite well. Do you feel like he's good enough to play in the Serie A, Ellie? Just in general, you know, feel like maybe he's good enough for like a Jose team?
I think he is, you know, because I think he'd get a bad rap at our club. Because every time he played,
in particular, he'd be good, you know, just for Jose.
Yeah, because Jose played him a few times as well. He gave him more of a chance than the other managers. But what I like about Rodon, he gives his all. He's, you know, there's some players, they're not technically gifted and they're not quite what you want, but they'll give their all. All right. So every time he came on, he was geared up, you know, and he wasn't a slacker, you know. That's the worst thing if you've got a rubbish player, but a slacker as well. I'm not saying Rodon's rubbish. He's just not quite Premiership quality. But with Serie A, the football's a lot slower. It's more methodical. You know, he's got time on the ball. You know, he might grow up a bit because he's only young as well. You know, look, like I keep on harping back to Walker, but when we got him, he was raw. We got him with Norton, if you remember. Yeah, and Norton went one way. Norton was the one who was getting bigged up all the time. And Walker was the one who wasn't so highly thought of. But look what happened to him. He's become a star player, you know, and he's gone to Man City and he's won everything apart from the Champions League. But that's because they got a curse on them, apparently. I won't talk about that.
And then Brian Hill,
some Man City fans. Oh, Brian Hill, yeah.
What do you think? Him going to Serie A? I don't know if that's right for him. I feel like if anything, I feel like he should go to that. I think he should go to that Marseille team, or he should go to maybe the Premier League of some sort.
I think he needs the Premiership. I agree with Sean because the Premiership is fast paced, and you've got to learn quick. With Italy, it's a lot slower. He's going to get a lot more chances on the ball, but he's going to be more relaxed. With the Premiership, it's intense, and he'll grow up. Like when Gareth Bale first came to Spurs, he was a little youth, you know, and he's build and everything. And then suddenly, from 21 to 23, oh my God, Gareth Bale's body became a man. He changed. Brian Hill. He needs a few good meals in him, to tell you the truth, because he's so slight. I know. See, there are small players, but they're built. You know what I mean? They've got good legs, they've got good arms, they've got good upper body strength. Right? I'm surprised Spurs didn't work on him. You know, maybe they just don't see him progressing as much at Spurs and maybe putting him on loan. Maybe they want to feel him out a bit. by putting him on loan and seeing what he can do. And then if he is going to mature and muscle up and, become the player they think he's going to become, then we'll have him back when he's 23, 24. Because he's 21 at the moment, I believe. Is that right?
Yeah, I think he's turning 21. He might be, maybe just a year younger than Kulusevski, perhaps, which, puts things in perspective.
See, Kulusevski's a man. You look at Kulusevski's body, he's a man. He's got upper body strength and everything.
I think he's like Jack Clark's age, Brian Hill. I think they're the same age.
Yeah, well, let's see. You don't know. A lot, like Will Stewart, he hates him. He said he's no good. But I can see something in him because I know my players, right? I can see something in him he's got technical ability, the boy, and he can take on his man, right? He just needs to beef up and get that strength in his body so that he can get past them easily because they can knock him off the ball.
I think if he gets a good, Valencia, the loan went as well as you probably could expect it to. And so if, let's say the next loan he gets, that also goes well, that would probably be the best way for him to stick around, is that his next loan spell also goes very well. Let's say it doesn't go well, then I could see, the theories that, Sean and plenty of others have, which is he'll actually never play another game in a Spurs shirt. But let's say the next loan he has does go really well, Spurs might be inclined to still keep him around or at least, who knows, maybe even then sell him for a big fee. But Ellie, do appreciate you coming on. Thank you for getting us started. Thanks for, kicking us off. Sometimes it's a bit more intimidating to go first. So we got the veteran and Ellie to do it. Thank you, Ellie. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Take care and good luck with the rest of the show.
Appreciate it, Ellie.
And big up everybody in the chat. Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. Big up Ellie in the chat, everybody. Everybody, there it is. Everybody, show Ellie the support she deserves. Absolutely smashed it. Kind of got us started, got us going. I think we're going to move on to, I believe it was now Elias. Elias, if you're ready to go. Yep. There you are, my man. Elias, how we doing?
Good. I'm enjoying some Korean drinks.
It's probably quite a late one as well as a hot one, I imagine, my man.
Supper.
Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Paratici making that trip over to Italy? Do you want to talk about Jed Spence? What's on your mind, my man? Anything that you feel like we discussed that you want us to get started with?
Perhaps these past few days I've been a bit on off the transfer news, but I just saw the news about Paratici going to.
Yeah, he's in Italy to maybe get Zaniolo. Is that something that you'd be? Would you approve of that? Would you approve of that sort of player to come?
I'd say not a bad deal. I mean, if we are not looking at Eriksen, and apparently I still think Eriksen would come. I have a lot of faith in that deal because I want an attacking midfielder in our squad. And that's why I am hoping that Eriksen might come in the end and make the fairy tale return. But yeah, if we are not getting Eriksen, we need an attacking midfielder, and Zaniolo won't be a bad one because we have seen Jose playing Zaniolo as a right wing back, and he can come into that midfield position as well. He's a young player who can adapt and play in multiple positions, so he won't be a bad deal. I'm really excited for that deal. He's around, like, how old is he? 22 or 23?
22, yeah.
22. So he is not just like a current signing. He's a future prospect as well for us. I am extremely happy for that signing if it were to happen. He's like, you can say, the bully in the midfield. He'll like snatch the balls, and like he will make the quick passes and all that. You need somehow that sort of player, because I think our current midfield, they are other than Højbjerg, I think the rest of the guys that we have in midfield, they are kind of like the nice guys. They wouldn't make those very dirty tackles, the shithousery. And Zaniolo,
do you feel like Zaniolo maybe similar to like a Dele Alli that we used to have in the past? Actually, someone that was maybe a bit nasty.
Yeah, someone like that. But Dele Alli, yeah, you can say that in a way. Zaniolo may give us that form of a player back, and I think we have been lacking in that area for a while already now. So we really need a signing like that, and I'm really excited for that. And yeah, hopefully Paratici can get that. And the other thing about Paratici in Italy for Zaniolo, I agree with Ellie and the rest of them that actually Italian league would be a good one for Joy Rodon, but I
Really?
wouldn't want to see him. I wouldn't want to see him go as in like on a as a sale. Perhaps a loan would be a helpful
You would
one.
loan Joe Rodon. You wouldn't want to sell him. You would loan him.
I wouldn't want to sell him like
Wow.
that. He's the kind of player like he plays in Welsh first squad. And let's say from the Italian league, he will learn with those big names. The one of the best defenders in the world are in the Italian league. He would learn and he would play there. He would gain a lot of experience. And when he comes back, he would be a great asset for us. I mean, I think he can become a world class defender if you send him to that league. And I have
Mm.
already seen him playing for Wales a few times in the Nations League. He can make those good tackles. I mean, he's a good center back. And we have seen even Gareth Bale coming out that he was not very happy that Conte hasn't been giving him that amount of minutes. And I actually agree with Bale that Conte should give him some time. But I think last year we didn't have much of tournaments to give him that sort of minutes that he needed. But I think even moving forward in Champions League may not be the best idea for him. But perhaps I would like to see him being transformed as a player who can contribute to Spurs because he's also not that old. He can come to us and yeah, he can be a good player.
High praise for Joe Rodon, I must say, my man. Very high praise. And, I think, plenty of Welsh fans are probably enjoying actually that high praise of you, high praise of him. What do you think about him, wants to make you keep him? Do you think he really is someone that could make a break into the team in like the future? I think he's, around Davinson Sanchez's age. I think he's what,
24?
25, 26?
24, yeah.
24
23.
maybe. I'll take a look. But do you feel like he is someone that could eventually be like a starter for Spurs in the future?
Yeah, I
That
definitely
way you
see
would
him.
loan him, because I feel like, right, if you're loaning him, maybe you have a plan on playing him in the future, right?
You see, Dyer is how old? Dyer is around same age as Kane, I think 28, 29,
Yeah,
around that
yeah.
age. So, like, he is that kind of player who may play for us maybe 4 or 5 more years. We do need a player who can then take Dyer's place, someone who is loyal to the club. Joy Rodon is that kind of guy. He's the guy that I was reading an interview or was it a video by Kane. Joy Rodon is one of those players who leave the club last. So the last two players who leave the club is actually Harry Kane and Joy Rodon. They are the two players who leave the club last in the training. He is not that good at the moment, but when you see a player who is still trying hard to give all out in the training and all, that means he's a loyal player to the badge. And I would like to see him with us when Eric Dyer retires and all that. We would have a player ready in that format as a
Wow.
center back. Many may disagree with me, but
I think
perhaps
plenty of
I'm a bit.
the Welsh army is definitely going to agree with you. I think they have high praise. They're probably quite surprised, I must admit,
I love
even
Welsh
hearing such
people.
high praise. World class
I
center
love my
back and
Welsh
Joe
husband.
Rodon in the same sentence. Sometimes you hear things. There you go. But what have you made of also the fact that Kaladzic is supposedly going to an English club? Do you know anything about that guy? He's like 6'7", over in Germany, Stuttgart. He basically be like a Peter Crouch, sort of replacement
Yeah,
for
that's what
us.
I heard. That he's basically like a Peter Crouch. He's an Austrian, right? Austrian Peter
Yeah, he's
Crouch.
Austrian. And I think his agent is meeting with English clubs at this moment in time. So he's expected to go to some English club. David has a prediction that it could be Brighton. Do you feel like Kaladzic? Do you know enough about him that you would want him, or the prospect of having a big, tall, backup number 9? Is that the type of striker you want us going for? I mean, what do you think?
Well, I wouldn't see him going to Brighton because that guy has some good stats, really. And Brighton, I'm not sure if they would be able to afford it. Like, I don't know what's the deal like
Maybe
for him.
I think the reason Dave thinks they're going to Brighton, or the reason he thinks he's going to Brighton, is because we paid around what, 27 million euros, I think, for
Bissouma.
Bissouma, and then they might pay, using that fee, around what, 23 to 25 million euros, I think is what Kaladzic might cost.
So yeah, it could be Brighton. I would think perhaps it could be even Everton, because Everton is trying to sell Richarlison and they are trying to make the money. But he is definitely the kind of guy. If he comes to Premier League, definitely he can learn a lot, and he has some good stats. Like over 2 years or something like that, in 50 games or something, he had like 20 over goals in
He had 2 seasons ago. He had a really good season. He had 16 goals and 5 assists, I think, in something close to 30 games or 28 games or something like that. He had some pretty spectacular, stats 2 seasons ago. Big problem, though, is that I think he faced a pretty tough shoulder injury, which is why he wasn't able to play as much or I guess even score as much. But I feel like he is the right sort of mold, as a striker, if you ask me, where we should be going for someone that is maybe something different to a Harry Kane. I know Harry Kane's, a big guy, but he is more of a creative number
Harry
9.
Kane is the kind of guy Ali would like. She likes big guys.
I think he's more of a creative number 9, whereas Kaladzic, I feel like, is a big, tall striker that would offer something very different. And we've had success with big, tall strikers in the past with Fernando Llorente, obviously Peter Crouch. You could even say the Carlos Vinicius, loan didn't go that poorly at the end of the day. And I think he wasn't someone that we were going to sign permanently.
Like a tall forward as well.
Yeah, it just seems like, Spurs have had success with the, big number 9s, and I think maybe Kaladzic could be a good choice for us. What does that make you then think if we were to sign a Kaladzic, would you still sign a Richarlison, or would you rather than maybe sign like a Raphinha, because Spurs are really linked with those 2 guys as well?
If I think we'll get Kaladzic, I would say then we might look into signing Raphinha or Jesus. Yeah, I don't think Raphinha is the kind of player who can play as a false number 9 or a number 9. Whereas Kaladzic, he can play as a number 9. I think right now, what I personally suspect or think, Conte needs a false number 9 or a player who can play in that position. Actually, not a false number 9, a proper striker, a proper number 9 who can actually replace Kane when needed. So Kaladzic seemed to be that kind of guy who Conte might look into. But who knows? I haven't seen any news so far that if we are linked with him. Has anybody seen a news similar to like he's linked to Spurs?
With what? With Kaladzic?
Kaladzic, yeah.
I think it's the point is that, he's headed to an English club and Spurs have been linked with him in the past. So there's going to be that sort of connection.
We have been linked with him in the past.
Yeah, we've been linked with him in the past, especially
we are linked with him. We are linked with him, actually.
Yeah, that's the reason I think we put it up on the screen. But in case of, the last bit of news with, maybe Stevie B, going to Ajax, and then Sebastian Haller going to Dortmund. Do you feel like Stevie B, will we see him back in the Premier League? Do you think at some stage? Is he going to, like I said before, maybe he makes one step backwards to make a huge step forwards, in his career?
Look, Stevie B is the kind of player, he's a dangerous player. He's definitely a dangerous guy. And if he were to come back to... If he were to play in a Premier League club, I would think he would be a dangerous one. So I wouldn't want to see him in any Premier League club. Like same like Wings. I wouldn't want to see Wings even in a Premier League club, because these are the kind of guys who would go to Premier League and then they can really haunt us, really. And I would rather he go to Ajax or a club like that we might face in Champions League or something, but not too concerned about facing him twice or thrice a year in the English competitions.
Mm-hmm.
So CVB, and I guess he wants to go back to Netherlands. He wants to become sort of like that Dutch hero type of figure who can actually take on the role of their main striker in the league. Because you see, when you play in your own country's league and all that, you have that sort of hype, you have that sort of familiarity with your fan base, with your country's crowd as well, because they would definitely be following their own league a lot more than the other leagues. I guess his intentions are around that point, and I am happy that he's going to Ajax. I wish him all the best. I would always remember him for the Leicester game. He was awesome. Other than that, sorry, Stevie. I just don't know how you can be with us, because you're not a Champions League quality and fitting into Conte's system, I think, with us for the next year.
Yeah, I just don't see. Yeah, but hopefully he makes a huge step forward after maybe this maybe step back to the Eredivisie. But yeah, wish Stevie the best. But Elias, thank you very much for coming on, my man. Appreciate you taking the time. Thank you for your patience, and we'll be seeing you hopefully Monday for the next fan show.
Yes, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up Elias, everybody. Big up Elias in the chat. We'll be seeing you soon, brother. See ya. Everybody, big up Elias in the chat. Show him the support that he deserves. We are going to be kind of keep firing through these guests because they are popping in. And so we're just going to keep going. And we're going to go to Michael, our man out in Poland. How we doing, Michael?
Out on a trip. I hope you can hear me well, Jack. Because, I'm using the mobile data. So, is everything okay?
You look good, my man. You look good. Different angle as well than maybe what we're used to as well. Things switching things up here. What have you made of? Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
It just proves that I sometimes leave my desk, right? So
it's good to see you, my man. Good to see you out of the house.
That I've been leaving my room, I haven't really shown up on any stream, not in front of my desk. So yeah, here I am during the trip.
Very proud. The missus is very proud to see you out and about, doing things, my man. But we're going to keep talking Spurs even while you've left the house. You can't escape Spurs, so we're going to keep talking about that, my man. Paratici is in Italy at this moment in time, and perhaps we're looking at Zaniolo. Is that someone that you feel like you'd be happy that Spurs are looking at, or are you a bit skeptical of him? What are your thoughts on Zaniolo?
I personally haven't watched much of him, so it's hard for me to judge whether he's he would be suitable for our system. But I've heard that he's a really talented player, but he's ravaged by injuries, right?
Because he was kind of on people's radar like a few seasons ago. I think he's been kind of well known for like the last 3 years, I might say. But it's just like you said, career been kind of ravaged with injuries. Does that maybe give you a bit of skepticism about maybe going after him if he's had so many injuries?
Yeah, it's risky in my opinion. Of course, it's just me watching him, right? We have a whole lot of people in our club that could probably assess if he is suitable, right? So if our club thinks that they can manage his injuries, they can manage his development properly, because he is a young guy, he's 22 or something, right? So there is plenty of time for him to develop. And I feel like if our club decided that that he's suitable, then of course, why not? I think that he's a talented kid, and there is a lot of bright football ahead of him. But for now, I would prefer if you went for someone of a bit of a different profile, because remind me, but Zaniolo plays he plays on the wing, right?
He plays kind of it's like a right winger, and he can also play as kind of like a number 10 as well. He's left-footed too.
Yeah. So I would personally prefer someone who is more of a striker, designated striker, like someone of Kane's profile. But generally speaking, because you guys been talking plenty with Sean too about transfers and which positions should we fill. And I always have this thing in mind that for a healthy squad, and let me go I will describe my healthy squad. So if you play for example 3-4-3, right? Then for me the perfect situation would be if you had 5 center backs, 4 wing backs, 4 midfielders, and 5 attackers, right? So so you have 3 wingers that can swap with each other, 2 strikers that can provide different things. So one is a good finisher, the other one is really good in the air, right? Then as for 4 midfielders, one would preferably be more attacking, one strictly defensive, and 2 box-to-box midfielders that can do both roles good. Then for wing backs, 2 guys of quality that can swap when the other one is injured or tired or whatever. And then 5 center backs, preferably 2 left-footed, right? I know that's ideal scenario, right? And in my opinion, right now we have left wing sorted with Perisic and Sessegnon. We have in this model the midfield sorted because we have Skip, Højbjerg, Bentancur, and Bissouma, right? But for the defense, I feel like we have Davies, Dyer, Romero, and Sanchez. And I would prefer a 5th center back of high quality, because I personally don't trust Tanganga and Rodon enough to provide that that first team quality. So when you swap one of the defenders and Tanganga or Rodon come into the team, I'm not like super confident with them there. So I would prefer someone like, you know, of a better quality and preferably left-footed, so that this person could provide like the backup for Davies, or even Davies could provide backup for that person, right?
Would you feel like Sanchez is like maybe the lowest level you would take as like as a backup? Like maybe that's like the lowest level quality you would accept? Because it seems like everybody's not over the moon with Sanchez. But when Dave and I thought about selling him, a lot of people were kind of saying like, listen, like he's a decent backup. Like you kind of have to just keep him around. But is that sort of maybe the bare minimum level for backup then for you? Probably is like a Sanchez.
Yeah, I share those thoughts. So, you know, whenever Sanchez came off the bench, he pretty much never disappointed me. Like, I know that most of the time when he came on, the game was like in a stable state, let's say. And, you know, I think I've talked with you about it, that, you know, he's a really good defender when he knows what's going on around him. You know, when he has a stable situation, when, you know, he doesn't have a pacey winger bombing right through him, right? And, you know, then he suddenly like loses his head, right? But as a backup center back to like provide a substitution when, you know, when we have a game under control and, you know, Romero is tired and we want to rest him, Sanchez is perfect for me in that case, right? And so would be Davies if you had a better left center back in his place, right? But, you know, I feel like this should be our priority: left center back, right wing back, and a forward player that could mainly provide backup for Kane, right? And, you know, you've mentioned the Austrian guy. I personally haven't seen him play once. I don't even know, frankly speaking, from which team he is. But you know, I believe that if he has quality, and, you know, he has something different that we don't have in our team right now, which is like a lot of fight and a lot of like air prowess, right? And, you know, that would completely change the way that we can play against certain teams.
Different.
Something different, basically, right?
What do you make of the fact that the reason I kind of like the Kaladzic rumor is because if you ask me, I think Richarlison versus Raphinha has become this big debate amongst, you know, kind of the fan base, like what's better for 65 million. A lot of people think Raphinha is the better player. Richarlison makes more sense. I used to kind of subscribe to that logic as well, which was like Richarlison makes more sense. Raphinha is more of like a one type sort of position. But what if, you know, you still need to sign like a replacement for Stevie B? You know, like even if, you know, you sign a Richarlison or a Raphinha, you still need to sign another forward. Like you said, 5 forwards. You need 5 forwards. So what do you make of this? Like maybe Raphinha plus Kaladzic instead of like Richarlison plus like a winger, you know? Does that maybe sound interesting to you? Raphinha plus Kaladzic?
Yes, it does. So basically, in that model that I described, I assume that we are going to keep Lucas in the team. So, you know, that he would be that fourth forward that we have right now in the team. That's why I was talking only about bringing in one. But, you know, the situation I described would be like a healthy, well-working team. But, you know, for example, look at City or look at Liverpool. They have what I described, but they have more. You know, they have more players that can change the way they play, right? And in that case that you described right now would be perfect, because we have Lucas that provides something different than Kulusevski, right? We would bring a forward, like a really tall forward that would provide something different than Kane, right? And then we could bring someone like Raphinha. I know that he plays mainly on the right, but I struggle to believe that he couldn't play on the left, right? So if he could play on the left, then he would be he's a different player than Sonny, right? Because Sonny, well, he dribbles well. He's really pacey, but his like flair on the ball isn't as good as Raphinha's. I don't think that's like a wild statement, right? Because Raphinha is that typical like Brazilian, you know, that player that just spins people around and they don't know what's going on.
The logic I have is like Richarlison, I'm not sure if he even challenges Sonny or Kane. And that's totally fine that he doesn't challenge Sonny or Kane. Whereas I feel like Raphinha, at the end of the day, we love Kulusevski, like I said before, you know, our man from Sveriga. But I feel like Raphinha is going to challenge Kulusevski pretty well. Like he is going to give him a run for his money. And in fact, you probably would love to have a Raphinha against like a Liverpool or something like
Yeah.
that. Like he would be deadly against teams like that. And that's why the more I thought about it, I originally was in the Richarlison camp. I'm more or less like switching now to the Raphinha camp, just because it feels like Raphinha plus a Kaladzic, Raphinha plus an Emmanuel Dennis or something makes maybe more sense to me, at least, when you're trying to improve the overall squad.
Yeah, so my answer to that would be, if we were bringing only one forward, then I would probably prefer Richarlison, just
but
because
it seems crazy to only bring one, because then you only have 4,
5, right?
You have maybe 5, but I
Kudus,
feel like with
Kane,
how many,
Lucas.
I feel like you need 6 when you kind of think about it, because if Bergwijn leaves, you need to still replace Bergwijn, because we can't expect. I think you need 6 with how many games we're going to be playing. So some people are putting Ben Brereton Diaz. I kind of even like the idea of a Raphinha plus a Ben Brereton Diaz. That could be kind of interesting. But I don't know. I think we need 6 forwards. I agreed with you originally on 5, but now the more that I think about it, I think you need 6, because you have the starting 3 for that 3-4-3, and then I think you need backup wingers for either wing, and then you also still need a backup striker as well. So I think you actually need 6 forwards, if you ask me.
Yeah. So as I said, minimum would be to have 5, just because I assume that one winger could provide backup for like both wingers that you have, and in case that 2 of the 3 wingers that you have are injured, then like, sorry, but you have to change the formation in that case, right?
Yeah.
But so that's why I assume it's a minimum. So that's why I'm also saying, if we only brought one to have 5 forwards, I would prefer Richarlison, just because he proved that he can play left wing and striker, whereas Raphinha played pretty much only as a right winger in Leeds, right? But if we were bringing 2, then I agree. In that case, I would prefer Raphinha, just because he is a better player than Richarlison, right? And if we had someone to provide backup for Kane, then I would be perfectly fine with Raphinha, because like Raphinha doesn't provide backup to Kane. So if we brought only Raphinha, we would have 4 wingers and only 1 striker. And if we brought Richarlison, we would have 2 strikers and 3 wingers, right?
That's
so that would be a more healthy.
If you wanted to settle with less, if you didn't want as many forwards, you would probably be forced to then buy Richarlison. In my eyes, I just feel like we need a lot of bodies up there in the front line, because the more you have up there, the more chances of us scoring goals, and the more chances of us, having, different things to tweak with. Harry Kane doesn't get overworked. Sonny doesn't get overworked.
Yeah.
That's how I could see it, working out for us. But you raise a good point there. Like, if we do settle with 5, Richarlison would probably be kind of the better choice. Just, kind of maybe get your thoughts on this. What have you made of the fact that, Joe Rodon is headed, though, to Italy? Do you think what a career move, if you ask me, for him to go from Swansea to Tottenham, now to Roma under Jose? Do you feel like he'll do well in Italy? Elias thinks he'll do spectacularly by the looks of it.
Yeah, I think he will do well, especially under Mourinho, because like, out of the 4 managers that he worked under here in Tottenham, Mourinho was the only one that actually gave him a couple of chances. I mean, as a starter, or as a backup, but like from the beginning, right? So I feel like he out of the 4 managers that we had, trusted him the most. And I even read like today or yesterday a quote that apparently when Mourinho was leaving, he asked Lloris to keep an eye on Rodon and to keep him safe because Mourinho thought that Rodon has like the biggest potential out of the defenders that we had in the team back then, right? So
interesting.
I believe that he will do well, especially because if he moves to Roma, he will be playing under Mourinho, that already knows him and already knows his strengths and weaknesses, right? And so I think that it would be a good move for him. If not that, I think that he should move to a lower level Premier League team that preferably plays like a defensive type of football. Because I for example, don't think that like Brighton would be a good suit for him, because Brighton tend to try to play like more expansive football, more on the ball football, right? And like the team that comes to mind immediately would be Burnley, or old Crystal Palace under Hodgson, where they played like a really solid defensive football. There's the same way that Wales plays pretty much, right? Because Wales Usually they give a lot of the ball to the opposition, and they try to like provide like a good counter-attacking balls for Bale and their forwards. So I feel like in that case, Rodon would be really suitable for that kind of team. But I'm also, I wanted to talk a bit about Bryan Hill, because I personally feel like we shouldn't be like discrediting him already, because I personally feel like there is a lot of like negative thoughts about him, in my opinion, in our fan base. And it's just because he isn't like a big muscular, like, guy that can like throw people off him, right? I feel like, first of all, there is a place for like skinny, fast, agile players in Premier League. Like, for example, Bernardo Silva isn't like this.
Bernardo Silva,
I know that.
Perfect example.
Yeah, I know that, of course, Bryan Hill is nowhere Silva's quality, right? But I'm just talking about like the type of physicality. I believe that there is a place for such players in Premier League.
You can be good enough to not need to be, you can be good enough to not need to be, built and all that sort of things. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah. Frankly speaking, Raphinha isn't too big too, right? He's a bit of like a more lightweight player, right? So I believe that we should give this guy a chance. Just because, first of all, he's 21. So, in like 1 year or two, he might be like built like a brick house, and,
he doesn't need to be, like you said. Maybe he doesn't need to be. He can be good enough that he doesn't need to be.
He doesn't need to be, but he can be, right?
Yeah, he can be. And he's still quite young. Yeah.
And also, one thing that I want people to remind themselves about is that when we were watching this abomination that was Nuno's team, right, and Bryan Hill was on the pitch, he was pretty much the only one that gave the vibe that he was giving more than like minimum that you have to give. Like, he was trying to play progressive passes, he was trying to dribble through players. So I believe that there is a player in there, and I don't think that we should discredit him so fast. Because, he's in a similar situation that Steven Bergwijn is, right? So he won't displace Sonny. Like, there is no way. But I believe that he showed a bit like more talent than Steven Bergwijn, in my opinion. And, he's also like 21, so maybe he will like stay here for next 2-3 years, playing like on loans or playing backup to Sonny. And then he could probably like start moving into the first team when Sonny reaches like 33, 34, maybe, because that's not a long way out, right? It's like Sonny's 30 this year, or I think he's 30 this year, right?
No, I agree with you. And what do you think of the fact that, some people say he needs to be loaned to a Premier League club or a championship? I think that's ideal. But I must say, like, if you know anything about Marseille, I actually think that is quite a clever loan move for him, because if he's going to get like the football that he did over at Valencia, where he was playing all the time at Valencia, what if he did get, like some Champions League minutes and, played in Ligue 1 week in, week out? I would probably think under like a really progressive manager like Sampaoli, I think that could be, like actually a better loan for him. And just last thing too, also Michael, on Bryan Hill is like, the only way I see him breaking back into the Spurs team is if his next loan move goes really well for him. He just absolutely tears it up at his next club. So the club or the destination where he goes on loan is crucial for him probably being able to play a game in a Spurs shirt in the future.
Yeah, I agree. So, like, let's imagine a situation where he goes to Marsilia and, he scores, like, let's say he scores 7 and assists like 9, and maybe scores 1 or 2 goals in the Champions League.
Yeah,
7 and 7 or something like this. That's a successful season for a guy of his age. And I believe that if something like this happens, we should give him a chance. We shouldn't like, discredit him and, immediately try to sell him. I think that, because, I think that we can bet on we can gamble on him, just because like right now we are looking for forwards. We will have 5 forwards at least in our team, maybe 6, like we discussed, right? So he doesn't really need to be in the team right now, but we can assume that, like, for example, Lucas's contract ends in 2 years, I think, right? And there were rumors that Lucas probably is willing to like end his contract here and then move back to Brazil. So there will be a free spot in 1, 2, or 3 years ahead.
You're right.
And I believe that if this guy, if Bryan Gil proves his quality, we have a player there. Because, you know, if we try to like replace, let's say, Sonny in 3 years and, you know, bring someone of like at least half to 75% of Sonny's quality, you would have to pay another 60, 70, 80 million for that player, right? And we just bought Bryan Gil for 25 plus Lamela or whatever it was, 25, 30 or something like this. And, you know, if he proves his quality, then we have a player there. We don't need to spend more, right? So
I agree.
I believe that this guy should be given a chance. Not now, of course, in the main team, but in 1, 2 years, we should probably give him a chance. And if his loan move fails, then we should probably sell him then, because, you know.
I agree. I think that's, it depends on him doing well on his loan. I agree with that, actually. And like maybe Eddie Gonzalez says here, the loan move for Hill determines his career at Spurs. And I think that's exactly it, where Michael, if he has a fantastic loan, Spurs can't ignore him if he has a good loan. If he has an underwhelming loan and an underwhelming season, Spurs can ignore him and they can probably think about moving him on. But like you said, let's say he gets 7 goals, 7 assists in Liga, maybe gets 2 goals and an assist in like 6 games for the Champions League. That is a decent season at the end of the day. And that would be one that I feel like Spurs would kind of feel like, you know what, I don't know if we can really ignore this kid, you know, any longer. We're going to probably have him in this team. And he would probably then play some sort of, you know, backup role, which I think he'd probably do quite exceptional at if he had a good team around him. I completely agree with you there, Michael. Absolutely smashed it, my man, honestly. And people really had enjoyed what you had to say, especially Nick, you know, was saying in the chat as well. Lazy 8 said, Michael, stop making so much sense. You're going to give people the impression that Spurs fans are competent. Pick up, Lazy 8. But Michael, really do appreciate you coming on, my man. Appreciate, you know, finding the time as well as, you know, finding a parking spot, you know, to be able to chat with me. But cheers, my man. Thanks you for coming on. Thanks for taking
I just stopped near McDonald's. I don't know if you can see it in the back, but you know, it's my dinner
different
break.
About Polish McDonald's? Anything special about Polish McDonald's versus any other McDonald's?
I'm not sure about the menu.
No secret menu,
like
no secret
other
menu or
McDonald's.
anything. No, like Polish sausage, you know, available, you know, in the breakfast sausage or anything.
No Polish sausages. I believe that we have like this burger called Lumberjack. I'm not sure. It might be like the same burger in other countries, but by different name. But this Lumberjack burger it has like bacon, eggs, and you know, and all that stuff. So yeah, it's really tasty, and I personally like really like it. So if you ever happen to be anyone from the chat, if you ever happen to be in Poland, you know, try it.
And then McDonald's in Poland. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you, Michael. Thank you for coming on, brother. And we'll catch you very soon, hopefully Monday.
Yeah, see you guys. See you Monday.
I'll be seeing you on the IrishHotspur chat as well. Big up, Michael. Gotcha, my man. Everybody, show Michael the support he deserves. Absolutely smashed that, I must say. And practically just took control of that conversation and was making a lot of sense, as you know, Nick was saying. So please, everybody, show Michael that support. And everybody, if you want to stop any of the panelists or the guests at any stage, if you want to have them talk about what you really want to be talking about, feel free to throw it in a super chat. It's also a great way to support the channel. But we're going to move on to, I think, our man who's Daddy Hoiberg, I believe, in the house, is up next. Daniel, we have your camera on. There you go, my man. How we doing?
Hello, Jack. How are you?
What's up, my man? What have you made of the fact that Christian Eriksen, you know, our Danish, you know, return is probably not going to happen? It looks like Spurs haven't even been speaking to him in 2 weeks. So we've been told lies in the media. I thought that we've been told, you know, that, you know, he was basically coming to Spurs. It looks like Spurs have been ghosting, you know, Eriksen for 2 weeks by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, but don't really have much opinion on it, to be honest.
Yeah, you're not disappointed we're not getting Eriksen? You're happy that we're looking elsewhere?
Yeah, kind of. I hope he stays at Brentford now, to be honest, so he can just play football.
He has a lot of Danish friends over at Brentford, as maybe a certain Jamie Vardy would probably like to say. But as well, I think Thomas Frank even is supposedly kind of like a father figure of some kind over to Eriksen as well. So it kind of makes sense. What have you made maybe of the fact that Bissouma apparently almost went to Liverpool? We haven't discussed that one in a while. I kind of said that I couldn't decide whether this was true or whether this was just maybe Karen Klopp, maybe writing this article and, just suggesting that, Bissouma, would have gone to Liverpool if he had the chance. That's basically what the article was trying to say was Liverpool. It would have been so easy for Liverpool to sign Bissouma is basically what the article was saying. Do you think they're just jealous?
Maybe a little jealous because I've seen Bissouma linked with Liverpool a lot, so I could see that before. But yeah, of course they would be jealous now because he would be great in Liverpool as well. So, but now we have him, so you can be jealous all you want.
More Karen Klopp tears for us to drink, my man. More Karen Klopp tears. And also as well, Spurs, apparently we're still haggling over that Jed Spence, kind of fee. £10 million, I think, is what Spurs kind of want to offer, as the base price. It looks like Middlesbrough, Daniel, they want at least, I think, 15 million plus add-ons. Are you disappointed that Spurs are, maybe taking so long, or what are you thinking about this? Like, do you not really care that maybe Spurs are taking long on this guy? What are your thoughts on this? It's taken a while.
Yeah. I mean, we need a right wing back. And of course, Spence has been linked so much, but this is classic Daniel Levy. This is Daniel Levy written over it.
Giving the Daniels a bad name.
Yeah, now we're back to that again. Jesus. But I don't think Paratici is involved in this at all, it looks like.
Yeah, I think it's actually, that's even what the article went on to say, is that this is sort of Daniel Levy's pursuit. Like he's pursuing Jed Spence, while I think Paratici is being left to pursue other targets, is what Sky Sports said. So this is actually Daniel Levy's man.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen now. So, but there is better out there. So hopefully we get someone better. But I haven't seen us linked with anyone better. So
yeah, that's kind of I think the frustrating.
It's worrying. It's a little worrying, I would say.
Yeah, because it seems like the most important position, right? Why aren't we being linked with better out there? Like, because it's probably the most important position for us to upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. Just try and just go and get some good, Just get someone good.
Yeah, just bring someone in,
Shouldn't
that's
that
actually
hard.
That shouldn't be, but we're going to make it hard on ourselves. Us,
Yeah.
Daniel, we are going to make it hard on ourselves.
Yeah.
But Paratici, he is in Italy right now, and he's not on vacation, Daniel. He is trying to sell Joe Rodon apparently to Roma. What are your thoughts on Joe Rodon? Do you think that move to Roma makes sense? Do you think he'll do well with Jose? That's kind of funny, and what a return.
Yeah, I think that could be a good move for him. I do actually. I know people don't really like him, but I have not.
You're like Elias. You like Joe. You like Joe.
Him, to be honest. Yeah, I do like Joe. I mean, he's a good defender. I think he's a good defender, but it's not going to be for us. It's going to be for someone else. So I think Italy could do him good because it seems like players who goes there, like Tomori. Of course, Tomori is better, but of course, I think they grow and become better players over there. They learn a lot. So
he even said that he would probably put Rodon on loan instead of actually selling Rodon. Is that what you would do? Okay. Maybe develop him over with Jose, maybe bring him back in the future. Is that what you would do with Rodon? Because if you do really rate him, that probably would be the best solution.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. But I don't know if Conte rates him that highly. So
yeah, I'm not sure any manager, maybe
but
apart
from
Jose.
I don't know how long Conte's can still be here.
Yeah, it seemed like Nuno nor Conte seemed to really rate the guy. To be fair, Brian Hill, we're trying to find a home for Brian Hill as well. Marseille, was originally linked. Now it's Sampdoria, which I think is probably the worst destination of all because. It's just, I don't know. That's a strange club to be headed towards, I think, for him. I would say, though, I could expect him to do very well at Sampdoria, but I don't know how much that's going to help him, going to a club like that.
He needs to, first of all, he needs to become mates with Goretzka. Get his gym.
Get Goretzka's trainer.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. He needs to bulk up. And also, he needs to just go on loan in England, Championship or a low league Premier League team, or it's not going to make it with us, in my opinion.
Maybe even find Højbjerg's trainer. Maybe he can just train with Højbjerg for the summer, and then they can beef up together. Whatever Højbjerg's eating, that may be what Brian Hill should be. But do you think, Brian Hill, like we were saying, in order for him to play in a Spurs shirt in the future, this next loan is going to have to be really good for him. Like, he's going to have to play very well at that next club.
Yeah, he's going to have to be almost a star there, I think.
Yeah,
almost like
I think that's
bright
a good way
spark.
to put it.
Yeah.
We were saying like 7 goals, 7 assists. Like, what do you think would be like numbers that would probably make Spurs keep him? Because that's what I think. And he needs to have. It can't just be highlight reels anymore. Like Daniel. To convince them they need numbers. They need output. What do you think would be acceptable? Like after a season, numbers wise.
Over 5 of each.
5
like
of
at
each,
least over 5 goals. Yeah, 5 of each.
10 goal involvements, 10 goal contributions.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah,
then I would
think
be
that's
okay.
probably fair.
There is a very talented player in there, so we wouldn't have him if there wasn't. So I hope it works out.
I hope it works out too, Daniel. Believe me. I mean, and I just want him to do well, whatever loan destination he goes to, so he can come back, maybe prove a few Spurs fans wrong. But at this moment in time, it's not looking very good. Zaniolo is the player that Paratici is also looking at. Are you a fan of Zaniolo? Because he's been on the scene, right, for like the past 3 years, if I remember, but he hasn't exactly met that hype and that potential, you could say, yet.
Yeah, I think that's because of the ACL injuries he had.
Yeah,
2
huge ones.
Very close. Yeah. But an exceptional player on this day, I think.
Despite those injuries, do you think he'll still be an exceptional player in the future?
I think he's going to be probably not world class now, but I think he's going to be very good, but not that world class level.
What do you think, the position he plays? Is he like a creative midfielder? Is that why we're kind of going after him? Is that the sort of player that he would fit? The creative midfield role?
He's like a mix, almost like a mix of a center forward and attacking midfielder.
Yeah.
So it could be, but I think he's probably better behind the striker.
Gotcha.
I think he plays best there. But
Kaladzic, is that the type of striker you want us to go for? Big, tall, what type of striker you want us going for? The big, tall, guy, or the something different?
I don't know nothing about this guy, so I can't
He's
tell
absolutely
anything.
Massive. That's all you need to know. If a tree were the form of a striker, this would be the tallest striker you can build. It'd be like if you were building your own striker, this would be the tallest one you could make. Like an absolute stick figure, like a tall stick figure for a striker.
Oh, God. Well, if he scores goals, then fair enough. Just get the goal.
He had, I think, 2 seasons ago, 16 goals, 5 assists in the Bundesliga for Stuttgart. I mean, kind of a smaller team as well, right? So that's pretty impressive.
Okay, yeah. Well, probably will end up going to Bayern in the end, wouldn't he?
I think he's actually headed to an English club, so that's where kind of the rumors are, is that his agent's in London. So if he were to go to an English club, it seems like Brighton is kind of the one. West Ham, he's been linked with. You feel like I don't know. Do you think Spurs, that's the guy that they would go after, or do you feel like they just go after something different?
I mean, if he's young and decent, then I think we would be after him. But I can't tell any. I don't know anything, so I can't tell. So.
Alrighty. Well, last question then for you here, Daniel, and that's what having to do with Stevie B. Going over to Ajax. My question is, do you think Stevie B will make a return to the Premier League at some stage?
Ooh, that's a good question.
How about while you think on that? He's going to be in the World Cup, right? This coming, winter. This is probably a good opportunity for Stevie B to, make a big kind of world stage, sort of moment for him, right? He, like I said, take one step back to make a huge step forward, right, in his career.
Yeah, and he's also been in Holland's like main player recently as well.
Yeah,
almost.
you're right.
So he's probably gonna have a good World Cup. But yes,
Coming back to the Premier League, what do you think?
I don't see it right now. I don't see it. No, I don't see it.
Maybe a Newcastle 3 years from now. Newcastle pays 70 million.
Oh, depends on how good his numbers going to be at Ajax. I mean, of course, the Eredivisie is not that.
They'll probably be pretty high considering.
Probably gets he's probably going to have good numbers there because he's a very good player. So just didn't work out with us.
Yeah, it just didn't work out with us, and we wish him all
Sebastian
the best. Who knows? Yeah, Sebastian Haller to Dortmund, good move.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't work out in the Premier League either. Him, of course, when he was at West Ham, but he's a very good player. Of course, he rocked up the Champions League, didn't he? So
yes, he did. Yes, he did. He was getting ridiculous numbers.
Yeah, probably going to do well at Dortmund.
Who knows?
Probably should. Maybe we should have looked at him a little bit, but since he didn't do well first, like a second try, but anyway,
I think he might not want to go back to the Premier League. Maybe he has a sour taste in his mouth after he went with West Ham. But Daniel, really do appreciate you coming on, brother, and thank you for giving your thoughts.
Problem.
Absolutely flew through all the news, my man. And, giving your thoughts on it.
Thank you.
Anything you want to say quickly before I let you go? Anything going on? I don't know, my man. Thank you for coming on. Anything you want to say before I let you go?
Well, first of all, I will of course now be going to England in September, so I hopefully get to see a Spurs game. It's not
get
priority.
To see the Harris Army.
I think it's going to be when actually I'm going to be the weekend in Manchester, and the funny thing is that Saturday I think they're playing City at the Etihad, so hopefully that's going to be the game I get to see. Hopefully.
There you are, my man. That sounds like an absolute blast, everybody. If you are headed to that
you
game.
like Manchester?
I like Manchester. Yeah, I like that. I don't like any of the teams there, but I do like the city. It's actually a nice city.
The city,
I do like the city. The north is very nice. You'll enjoy it, my man. They're good people, very good people. You'll enjoy
hopefully,
it.
Yeah. And
Alrighty,
also,
Daniel.
just one last thing.
Yes.
Just one last thing. Sorry, I saw Joachim Mahler linked to West Ham now.
That's not good.
For like 20 million or something. Maybe it's just bullshit because it's not been. But if that happens, you might not see me for a while.
Yeah, well, I want to see you on, Daniel, because you'll be bringing, be coming on angry, instead of so relaxed, you'll be coming on angry, my man. So
I just don't know why we're not after him. Why are we not after him?
It's been probably everyone's number one choice. It's been everyone's number one choice, I think, Joachim Mahler. So you're probably right.
Yeah. Well, after Hakimi, of course, but
after Hakimi, good correction there. I'll catch it, Daniel. Thank you for coming on, brother. I'll see you soon.
Take care. Have a good weekend. Yeah.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Daniel. Good to have you on, everybody. Our man out in Norway, Daniel, the Højbjerg lover, Daddy Højbjerg, as he likes to call himself. Everybody show him the love that he deserves, just like Ellie was in the chat here. But we are going to keep pushing on. 2 more guests to get through. Everybody, smash that like button while you're in here. We're still going 2 hours in, and we're still going through the guests at this stage, and we have still plenty of people to get through. I think 2 more. Who knows? Maybe 1 more might pop on. But everybody, like I said, 2 more guests to get through. So get in your likes. Feel free to throw in a super chat as well to stop me or the guest, at any stage and have them talk about what you want to talk about. But we're bringing on a very familiar face next. Someone who's been on probably every channel, but especially ours has been on a lot. Kuva99. How we doing, Kuva? Sorry, Kuva. I think you're on mute there.
Rookie mistake. Should know by now.
Well, it sounds like you were cursing me out. So, the live chat didn't hear it, but I heard it. And, we'll pretend, it wasn't said. But kidding.
No, let's pretend it was cursing it out. Yeah. No, lot of talking points coming up again, isn't there? Familiar theme. Are we now looking at a standstill on the transfer activity?
Mm-hmm.
There's that worrying headline for me. If there's any truth to it. Paratici is just over in Italy to sell Rodon and loan out Hill. Nothing mentioned about anyone coming the other way.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that.
Are we now looking at having to sell players before we can make more signings again? Because that's what that would suggest. And if that's the case, what was that 150 million in cash injection all about? It doesn't go together. So I'm going to kind of assume there's more to it, and Paratici going over to Italy than just that.
I would hope he's not coming back empty-handed. That would be a huge disappointment. And because if to hand deliver Joe Rodon, I don't know if somebody gets on a flight to hand deliver a Joe Rodon to somebody. I think you can do that sometime else. But what do you make of that fact that some people think Joe Rodon is maybe someone we should do on loan? I don't know. Like Elias had huge praise for Joe. Daniel seems to like Joe. I think Michael even had a bit of praise for Joe Rodon. So I don't know. Like. Seems like a lot of secret Joe Rodon fans.
I think he's well below the level we need. Let's face it, Mourinho didn't rate him. Mason didn't rate him. Nuno didn't rate him. Conte doesn't rate him.
Maybe Jose does rate him. He's going back to Roma, Kuba. Maybe Jose does rate him.
How much do you think Jose's in charge of what comes in Roma? I think they tend to go with the director of football and just deal with what they're dealt, aren't they? I'm sorry. Play with what they're dealt rather than. Anyway, Italy could be the right place for him. We have seen it with the likes of Chris Smalling going over there, who's absolute garbage. And he's gone over to Italy and done all right, hasn't he?
To Smaldini, from garbage to Smaldini.
Yeah, exactly. So perhaps there could be some truth in those rumours. Hill, I understand. I can see that he's got some talent. I don't think it's ever going to work in the Premiership. I think he really does want to play as an out-and-out winger, which we don't do. Yeah. He doesn't fit. He's a jigsaw piece that doesn't fit our puzzle, unfortunately.
Even right now, to be fair.
So if we really think there's potential in him in the future, I'd prefer to see now just actually sell him, but have some sort of buyback clause. Because just a loan, we're getting nowhere with just a loan because we're in exactly the same problem at the start of next season then. Yeah. But if we get some money in now, spend it. Let's go and get somebody we definitely do want and does fit. So
what do you make of the fact that this is sort of I agree with what you just said, Kuba, but just Brian Hill, for Brian Hill to even, like you said, if he ever wants to play in a Spurs shirt again, this loan move that might happen, he's going to need to get some real numbers, at that club, it's because let's say he gets 3 goals and 3 assists or something kind of pathetic, it's just going to be back to the old, I'm guilty of, there's still talent in there. We have to take our time, etc. He's going to need to have, I think, a good season in order for Spurs to feel like he should be kept around, if you know what I mean. He's going to need to get more than I think what Daniel said. Daniel said at least 10 goal involvements in the league, just the league he was looking for. And then that would make Spurs feel like maybe this kid is maybe worth keeping around, for.
Yeah, I think we're always in danger of looking at the most basic stats of the lot, just goals, assists. I think it's better to start looking a bit deeper into players like Hill and saying, how many chances does he create?
Well, that was actually, I think, the reason they brought him in was because his underlying stats were so good. But his goals and assists weren't very high, but his underlying stats were really good. So maybe I actually might disagree with you. I think it's going to be time for him to get the real stats of the goals and assists because he's never been. It's
playing the Moneyball game, really. You look at those sorts of players, and there's the potential for them to rise up to meet the chances being created and actually taking or making use of those chances created. Value shoots up. Alternatively, you can look at a player who's performing really, really well, putting away their chances, and then you look at the underlying stats and realise that actually they're way overperforming what they normally do, and you end up buying a Vincent Janssen or something like that, who does well when he's on a roll, but when he's not on a roll, he's absolute rubbish. So the only real way to do it is to just literally, you've got to play them. If you don't play them, or you don't think they're good enough for your team at the moment, why waste your time on them? Just move them on to somewhere where they're going to get game time. It's completely. I don't understand the loyalty behind it at all. Because why is Brian Hill so massively in demand from some fans? What has he done for us? He's got no connection to the club.
It's probably
it's just a player. Let's just go and get somebody who's more likely to get in the first team. Makes much more sense to me. Like I said, I mean,
the way it runs, that's talk about underlying stats. The way that he creates chances with the hair flowing in the wind, I think, it's what probably attracted us to him in the first place. Rob is saying 15 goals minimum. I feel like, what would you say? Like 9 goals and 6 assists. That would be like a season Kufa for me. Like, because at the end of the day, we're going to be probably looking for some sort of auxiliary winger to back up somebody, and if, let's say, Hill got 9 goals and 6 assists like you wanted, you could sell him on for some pretty good money if he had a season like that, or you could bring him back into the team as some sort of backup, maybe role for the future that maybe he can start. But I think 15 goals, let's say, is the bare minimum. I think that is a good bare minimum, because then you would look at that. You wouldn't be like saying, oh, what a pathetic season. Like 9 goals and 6 assists, I think would be a decent season from like a kid like him.
He does see himself. He said himself he sees himself as a left winger.
Yeah.
Now, for getting 15 goals, you're not likely to get that as a left winger unless you're an inverted.
That's what I meant, like involvement. If he creates 15 goals, I think at the end of the season, I think that would show that, okay, this kid is capable of putting up some numbers.
Then that'll be impressive numbers. But if he's playing as an out-and-out winger doing that, we're still not learning about how he's going to fit into a team that doesn't play him in that position.
You don't think
if we're going to hang on to him, he either has to play the role of Sonny, or he has to find somewhere else in the team where he can fit in, convert into
what you're saying.
A cam or something. And we don't play with a cam, so that kind of leaves he's going to go play over on the right and cut in and add goals and assists. And he just doesn't fit. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter how well he performs, because if he turns out to be the next Messi, then of course you're going to find a way to get him in the team. But I don't think he's going to. I think we're just a bad fit for him. He's a bad fit for us.
It's just maybe never going to work.
You have to let go and move players on sometimes. There's potential in a lot of players we let go. They're like, well, we were talking about it last night, weren't we? The likes of what's the young Argentinian centre back we let go? Foyth. I think he's a cracking player. He's done really well since he's gone as well. There was always potential in him, but sometimes it's just the timing's wrong. The other personnel are wrong at the time, and it doesn't fit. They go on to establish themselves. This happens. It's football.
I think that's a good example.
I think we are way too, as a fan base, we all do it. We get somebody we become attached to. We want to see them do well no matter what. Emerson's the current one, the Marmite player. I hate him. I know you and Dave have got more time for him than I have.
I'm still waiting for my foreword from you for my book on Emerson, by the way. Still waiting for that to be submitted. I need just the sign off, but yeah.
I'm just always going to be of the opinion that no matter what, if you've got a player that is not fulfilling the purpose you need from him, it's the wrong player.
Why wait for them?
What you see with the rest of his game, if he is not doing what you need him for, and in his case as an attacking wing back, and he's not a very good attacker, then he's a bad player for your team. It doesn't matter how well he defends. They've got to fit what we want. It leads on to other things like the centre-back conversations that go on. I'm going to actually call somebody out a little bit, but not in a bad way. Whereas he was as Spurs, he's saying a lot of things in the chat, and keep it up, mate, because brings up a lot of good talking points. But saying about Ndaka, saying I noticed his comment saying it's just Davinson Sanchez with a left foot, and I was thinking, no, it's really not. Really think so. And then he says he's got no long ball game, and then quotes Bastoni is the sort of player you should go after. If you really look at it, he is very much in the mould of Bastoni. They are not the ones that sit at the back and ping out the long balls. They progress with the ball. Their passing games are mid to range to short range game. They literally get themselves forward. To back that up with Conte's system, you can just see what Ben Davies has been doing since Conte has arrived. And the amount of times we're going, what's Ben Davies doing this far forward? It's because his role has changed. He is not the stay back at home defender anymore. He's supposed to go forward up the pitch. Sometimes they're supposed to overlap or underlap the wing back. It's an attacking defender. It's a very much different sort of role. If you're looking at one of the defenders to just ping long balls out, you really got to be looking at the Dyer position, because that is your stay-at-home defender. That is the last line. That is the man that that you're supposed to be the rock there at all times. Well, the others are far more sort of creative, if you like. So I think Ndicka actually does.
I think he's underrated. I think Ndicka is underrated. I'm actually surprised that he wasn't as high in the conversation, as maybe some other players we were looking at, because he's also, I think, the biggest of all of them as well, Kuva. Like I think he stands at like 6'4" at least, and then is, like a real unit of a player. If anything, Kuva, he gave me sort of the way that he is in one-on-one situations and everything. He kind of gave me that Van Dijk kind of vibe, where it was just someone you don't really want to try to dribble past, because he could really just hit you to the floor.
It's exceptional timing, wasn't it?
Exceptional timing, and also the real, almost Romero-esque as well, like goes into it with real force. A lot of his tackles, like as well, where he really leaves one on you. So I think
with the limited amount we have seen him, well, for certainly I haven't seen him that much, but I did see him against West Ham. And what are we looking to do with the players we bring in? We're looking to have players that are significantly better than other Premiership players. And he showed against West Ham, he is significantly better than anything they had. That's a bit of evidence to support he's worthwhile signing. Not a lot of evidence, granted, but it is something. There are things you can say, look at that. He did that. He has done that. He's also established himself on that Europa run as being a very good defender. We aren't the only people looking at him. That's for sure. He'll be on the hit list for a lot of clubs. Even some of the big ones, but they might have him as a lower priority than others. I just think he'd be brilliant value for money. He really does tick all the boxes.
I agree, and also cheaper compared to the others. And maybe you could get a Kostic plus Ndicka deal, which is what I think Brains was talking about, which only makes sense.
It's a brilliant shout.
Do you feel
also
like
then leaves the likes of Perisic to float over to the other wing-back position when needed,
and you get a backup itch.
When you're buying yourself a bit of versatility into the deal, it becomes a much better deal, doesn't it? I think that's that fits in with the talk about the forwards as well, which we were talking about last night. There's a lot of people against the Richarlison idea, but he is versatile, and he can fill that sort of strength and powerful role that Harry Kane does as a target man if needed. Not ideal, no, but I've noticed you bring up
I've switched camps. I've become a traitor. I betrayed the Richarlison camp. I've switched over to the Raphinha one because I feel like, if anything, for me, Kuva, when I'm coming up against Liverpool, Man City, those sort of teams, would I rather have Kulusevski, Kane, Sonny, and Raphinha to choose from, or Kulusevski, Kane, Sonny, and Richarlison to choose from? I feel like I would take Raphinha, maybe as that, kind of just something different. Like he would offer something different than a Kulusevski would. Whereas I know Richarlison also offers something different, but I don't know if it's as quality of, a difference. Maybe I just don't know. I feel like it makes more sense to maybe find competition that really can challenge the first team like a Raphinha can. Whereas with Richarlison, I just feel like I don't know if he's going to really challenge for that first team as much as we want him to.
I think he will. Richarlison's the sort of player where you think, well, you're not going to drop Kane for him. You're not going to drop Son for him. But if one of them gets injured and he comes in, you wouldn't be going, oh my God, we got nobody. You'd be going, all right, fair enough. He can come in, do a job. He might hit a run of form then as well, because he'll be playing with much better quality of players, we certainly hope, this season than he's been having to at Everton. A lot of there's a big deal made about his goal return, but the job he did for Everton, he was literally their only forward for big chunks of the season. It was a remarkable job. You've got to put all these things in context. He did a really good job for him.
I agree.
But sometimes, you'd be looking at his watch, wondering when they was going to see the ball next. But it's a different.
You're right. I remember, that was, what did we say? What did we find out? I think it was something like he had a total on average of like 12 or 13 touches in like the whole game for Everton. It's like, imagine 1 touch per 10 minutes, as a striker, talk about making the most of whatever you get.
Only Lukaku can shame that.
Talk about trying to make the most of what you're given.
We've seen that with Harry Kane as well. If your forward gets isolated, what are they supposed to do?
No. And they only get so many opportunities to even do anything.
Unless you're a Messi or a prime, Ronaldo number 9, not even Ronaldo number 7. It's somebody that's capable of running through an entire team, basically. So context with everything, of course. I mean, agree. You know well that I'm a big fan of Raphinha and Richarlison.
I think
if we're talking about the likes of Ndika and Kostic coming in, solve your part of your centre back problem, solve part of your wing back problem, and get 2 forwards in. When we've got the likes of Winks, Lucas Moura, Bergwijn, Rodon, who else? Sanchez could go as well, couldn't he? We've got players that can go out to recoup a lot of the money that we're outlaying. It's not out of the question to get all those players in. It might well add up to 150 million or so, but we said we had that, and we know we can get some value for some of the players we do want to sell. So let's just get some bids in and see some offer accepted, rather than, the rumor is Paratici's been seen outside an Italian restaurant, therefore we're bringing in an Italian player in. Let's see something concrete, because if we don't get all this business done before pre-season, we're already starting to let Conte down, because he's very, very open about the fact that he wants players in before pre-season, because it's so integral to get all the players in tune with what he wants and at his level of physical fitness that he's satisfied with. If he doesn't get that, we are already starting to potentially throw away points at the start of the season. Now, where are we trying to go as a club? We got to try and close that gap on Manchester City. It might prove impossible. We know it's going to be hellish difficult, especially with some of the signings they made. But that has to be the aim. And if you're throwing away points at the start of the season because you didn't get your players in early enough, you forget it. You already lost it. They're going to drop so few points next season. If we throw away 6 or 7 points right at the beginning, and pointless teams, well, not pointless, but compared to some of the big teams, we're shooting ourselves in the foot. We could be looking at the end of the season. We might be, say, 10 points behind City or something, and we had a bit of a shaky start. We'll be looking back and thinking, if only. We've got to get rid of this if only, and just say we did everything we possibly could. And then if it's enough, brilliant. If it's not enough, you've given it your shot. We can't go look back. Yeah, you can't look back with regrets at it, and that goes for signing the players too. Just go all out. Make your statement by getting them in early and saying, there, work with that lot, Antonio Conte. See what you can do. And I think he'll love that.
Love that. I think you would too, Kuba. Kuba, any sort of channel that we want to be plugging? Maybe a stream that's coming up that we want to be plugging.
There is one quick. No, not Bob Spurs tomorrow. Bob Spurs TV.
Okay, I'll plug Bob Spurs. Yeah.
And three Spurs boys. I forgot to give them a shout out the other day. 3 Spurs boys with Bobby K.
Put them there. Maybe while you want to stall for me, anything that maybe on the mind here, maybe more Aurier versus Emerson,
I've got one last thing you were talking about. Kaladzic.
Kaladzic. What do you think about that guy?
No, not for us. He's got his merits, but I don't think he's. I watched the game, the 2 games, Denmark against Austria, because I was obviously hoping to get a glimpse at how Højbjerg was doing and how Eriksen was doing. Kaladzic did nothing. He was told off early in both games. He was awful. Completely out of his depth against better players. And, those sort of games, it just, instead of looking at him, it just reinforced views of actually,
Bundesliga maybe.
Not bad.
Makes you think about Bundesliga tax as well. Like if he's not doing very well in that sort of situation, against better defenders, makes you then think about those numbers.
I think he's just a big, tall handful that is not going to do very well in the Premier League. He's got West Ham written all over him for me. I think it's the sort of one they'll go and sign for 28 million. Year later, sending him on for 11 million after he's got 3 goals. That's him for me.
I'll take that, honestly, my man. I'll take that. I think that sounds plenty fine. If West Ham, are gonna take that sort of player, let them have him. Let them have him. But Kuba, appreciate you coming on. Have the 3 Spurs boys.
Cheers,
and
Jack.
Bob Spur as well. And thank you for giving me some company, today, Kuba, on this Friday afternoon.
Anytime.
And
Anytime.
I'll probably catch you very soon on a stream, my man. So I'll talk to you soon.
I'm sure.
All right.
Cheers.
Big up Kuba in the chat, everybody. Absolute legend. Put in a real shift. Practically just took control, the whole time, which is exactly what I'm looking for, at this stage, the show, see people just have their say, speak with their chest and just run the show for me. And then you just tap on out after that. But everybody keep smashing that like button. 2 more guests to go through. We have another very familiar face coming onto the channel with Dermot from Tottenham Gold. Dermot, how we doing, my man?
Not too bad. How are you, Jack, this evening?
Doing okay. Just chatting to all the Spurs and the Harris Army, and just covering a bit of the news that's come up, today. Anything, that's been on your mind, Dermot, Spurs wise?
It's been a bit quiet this week, hasn't it? But I think it's been said a few times that players are away and that. With Rodon, I think that's a good move to get him out of the club. I don't really rate Rodon very much.
Yeah.
I don't think he's good enough for us. I don't think he put enough effort when he has played for us. As for Bryan Hill, I think I agree with Kuva. I think we have to cut our losses. We can't keep holding on to players that are not just good enough for the sake of it. I think we have to have players there that we can use in the first team, we can use in our squad, not just send them out on another loan. And that goes with Tatanga as well. I think a loan to buy deal might be a good move for him. We're not going to really use him. So we get these players out we're not going to use. If we can get money for them, brilliant. If we can get them out, just out the squad for the season, that's a bonus too. So I think we need to, and just keep the players we want to use in the squad, and the players are just going to sit there and pick up wages, then that frees up that as well. So it frees up more money. It frees up the squad to bring players in that we are going to use, and they get a chance to kickstart their career again. Like a Tatanga and a Rodon and a Bryan Hill, and they can then kick on with their own careers. And sadly it hasn't worked, and we just move on to the next signing, and we just keep going.
Yeah, we just keep going. What do you make of the fact with Rodon? Is that the right move for him? Can he actually do well in the Serie A? Or do you see him maybe potentially failing in the Serie A? Because Kuva made that good point that Chris Smalling, someone who no one rated in the Premier League, made a great transition, to the Serie A. Could that happen with Joe Rodon?
I think so. I mean, Chris Smalling, I've always rated. I thought he was very good at Man United when he first came in. And I would have loved him at Tottenham at the start in his early career. I really would have done. But I wasn't that surprised he did well in Italy. I think it's a different type of football over there. It's a slower type of pace. And I think with Rodon, it depends. Jose never played him a few times, but Jose never rated him. So I'm very surprised he's going.
Yeah,
I'm very surprised he's going for a player who doesn't rate. Like over there, the director of the football is you buy your players and you deal what you get. But I don't know. I think Rodon's reputation of partying and not taking his football seriously, I think that sort of goes before him. So, just have to wait and see if it does kick on in Italy. If he doesn't, then there's a serious attitude problem then.
Yeah. And Paratici is also, apparently in Italy for not just, Joe Rodon and, Bryan Hill. He's also there to potentially go after Zaniolo. Would you be frustrated if he came back empty-handed, Paratici, after making this trip to Italy?
I think that's more of a smokescreen. He's not going to tell everyone what he's doing over there. He's just going to say, I'm just over there to get rid of a couple of players. He's going to be over there trying to cook something up, trying to get a player in. He's over there. He's probably going to meet with Bissouma and a couple of players we've been after. And I think he'll bring a few back with him. I think he will bring a signing back with him. I don't think he's just going over there to sell players. I think there is another motive to it. Yeah. But Then, as I said before, and I've heard a few people saying that the last 2 weeks has been quiet. I wouldn't really worry about it because players are away on holiday. As people have said, there's not a lot of business yet. We'd like to get the players in before pre-season. But personally, as long as we get them in before the start of the season, I don't think it's not a bad thing. If we get our business done for a couple of weeks before the start of the season, then yeah, that's brilliant. And then if you want to add to that before the end of the transfer window, then add to it. But get who you want in, get them in now. And then if you want to add to the squad, then add to it when the season starts. So that's sort of my sort of attitude on it all.
I feel that.
I'm not going to panic, and there's no point either, because if you start panicking, or we're not getting this player in, you're not getting that player in, it just isn't worth it. You just got to do. You got to deal with the hands you're on. There's fans are going to be excited. We want this player. We want that player in. I'm long enough in the tooth to know transfers don't happen overnight. So you just have to let it go.
Take our time. We got to take our time.
Yeah,
exactly, Dermot.
And get the right players in. It's no point getting players in for the sake of getting a player in. He's got to be the right player that fits in the right position that will work for us. There's no point wasting money. Let's spend the money right.
What do you made of the fact that, we're still haggling over this Jed Spence thing? I said earlier with Sean, Dermot, that if we are going to haggle over a player, if we are going to haggle over the price of a player, the Jed Spence one, I'm not really too upset, that's the one, because I'd rather us, haggle over a deal like this than us haggle over the Raphinha or the Richarlison deal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Jed Spence is a weird one. He's had one good season at Forest, which he really did. He had some great games. I watched him quite a lot last year in the Championship, and he really was one of the best players in the league. I'm worried that Levy's dealing with it, but that's the only thing that worries me. But, if you're going to haggle over it, you might as well, as you say, haggle over Spence, then a Richarlison or a Raphinha. I think with them players, you go in and you pay the money. You pay what they're
that's what I think
for.
I'm trying to say is Middlesbrough doesn't seem like the club that you just give them whatever they want. It's not really, I think you can throw your weight around, I think. When
with that deal, I would say give you so much, plus we put a player in with it as well. So it gives them a player and the cash, and it gives them a player to add to their squad. I mean, Harry Winks would be ideal for Middlesbrough.
Harry Winks is on my mind too. Exactly.
Yeah. I'm being also seriously. I think that he'd be ideal for Middlesbrough for that bit of experience, and he could probably bring them players up with him. But I think I'd rather haggle over this. I agree with you. I'd rather haggle over Spence than say Richarlison. I prefer to go for Richarlison myself than Raphinha. If we can get both, brilliant. But if I had to pick one, I'd pick Richarlison all day long. I just think he's really good. I just love him at our club because he would cause so much hassle.
Yeah, do you like him because he offers that shithousery? Is that why you kind of want him in?
I would describe him, he'd be our Drogba. Like Chelsea had Drogba. He was a complete shithousery of a player. He would wind any player and fans up. Yeah. And I think Richarlison could be that sort of a player again for us. And I think he could do a job for us as well.
Yeah, I know I know what you mean. Definitely. Yeah. I could see that in him. He is that sort of kind of striker you would love to bring on just to cause a bit of havoc. You know. The fact that we haven't spoken. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
How many times did Drogba do it to us when he came on when he was playing for Chelsea?
Yeah.
How many times did he come on and just completely overrun that? If we have that sort of player going to Stamford Bridge, second game of the season, do to them what they've been doing to us, that'd be brilliant for me.
Yeah, I know I know exactly what you mean. Tottenham haven't spoken to Eriksen for 2 weeks, Dermot. Are you disappointed that maybe we're not getting getting Eriksen? Are you relieved we're not getting Eriksen? Like, some people are really disappointed we haven't gotten this guy. Some people are kind of relieved. Where do you stand?
I really don't care if we get him or not. I think he's had his time at Tottenham. You can look at all the sentimental side of it. Yeah, it'd be great to have him back. He's a Tottenham, ex-Tottenham player. I wouldn't call him a legend. I'll call him an ex-Tottenham great player. But it wouldn't bother me if he comes back or not. I think personally he's going to go to Man United.
Uh-huh.
I think because of Tag Hag, him training, he got him in with Ajax, training with them. He knows what he's like. So I can see him going to Man United, which would be really, I feel sorry for Brentford because Brentford did all the hard work bringing them back in, giving them a chance back in the Premier League again. He did keep them up, to be fair. So he does owe something to Brentford, but I can see him going to United. I don't think bringing a player like that back to us, it'd be great to see him back and fans would be, we've got Eriksen back. To me, I'm actually sort of glad because I want to remember him for what he did do. And when he did leave, it left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth how he left. But to me, good luck to him and I wish him all the success if he goes to United. I wish him all the luck up there. And if he stays at Brentford, brilliant. But I think we need to start looking at younger, more quality players, not players in their 30s. And also you've got the health thing as well. So, you sort of got to.
Maybe we're also misunderstanding Eriksen. Perhaps, he wants to play regular football. He wants to be paid really well. But maybe a team like Brentford, the expectations aren't as high. Let's say he has a bad performance one weekend. It's not going to, be the end of the world where it might be with Spurs or Man United. He also has a lot of Danish friends, with Brentford, Thomas Frank, he's really close with. And I don't know, it could be a better destination for him considering maybe what he actually wants. Maybe we're not really fully understanding what Eriksen maybe wants out of all this.
Yeah, maybe so. But if you go to Man United, it's like the old people's home in the Premier League, isn't it? That's where you go to to retire, basically. 2 years there, get your money, and then you retire. So I think if I can see him either going to Man United, I think he will go there. I think for him, Man United still has that pull, that name. The name is big in world football. And players, it's like Formula One. Everyone loves to drive for Ferrari. And I think if you're a footballer, you want to play like for Tottenham, Liverpool, or Man United. So it's one of the three big clubs, in English football. You're going to want to play for one of them. So I think he wants to spend a year or two at United and just say, I've done that. But good luck to him. I wish him all the success and and hope he has a great season. Not too great a season playing against us, but for the rest of the time, I hope he has a great season wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think that's a really good send off there, Dermot. Very beautifully said. Dermot, you want to tell me about Tottenham Gold? I think we have some FIFA that's coming up. More streams maybe with Ishand and whatnot. Tell us about your channel.
Yeah, well, we got this Keith Birkinshaw special on Sunday, which I'm being joined by Ellie and Philip Brady, and Amir's joining us for the first time as well. He's joining the crew up there for some shows. Yeah, my FIFA 22 starts tomorrow. Got it downloaded onto the PlayStation, so I'm all ready to go on that. To get over my football fix, I've been watching a load of old World Cup matches from '86. It's the first World Cup I remember. So in the end, when we end the Premier League season for the World Cup, Tottenham Gold will become in World Cup Gold. So we're going to show all the old World Cup matches, Maradona in his prime, Pele, Zico, the Brazilian team of '82, the Argentinian side of '86, following Jack Charlton's Irish side in '94 against Italy when we beat them 1-0 and the Giant Stadium. So we've got a lot of exciting things coming up. So I'm really, really looking forward to it. But Sunday we're doing Keith Birkinshaw, and I really can't wait to do that. It's going to be brilliant.
Yeah, absolute banger lined up this Sunday, everybody. So can't miss that. Check out Dermot's channel, Tottenham Gold, everybody. You'll check that Keith Birkinshaw interview or kind of special. And then, also as well, Ellie, you can find over there, given, the history lessons with Dermot. You'll see Ishan there. See a bit of FIFA there. Lots planned for Tottenham Gold. So please check out the channel.
Yeah, it was actually Keith Birkinshaw's birthday yesterday. He was 83 yesterday. 83 yesterday he was. So it was happy birthday to our most successful manager apart from Bill Nix. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Big up, Dermot. Really appreciate you coming on, brother, and thank you for plugging the channel. And everybody, show Dermot the support he deserves. Smash that big red button over there. I think
and please, everyone, but like and subscribe here and get these guys to 7K because they do deserve it. To put a lot of hard work in, and they do deserve it. So let's get them 7K before the start of the season.
Thank you, Dermot. We'll talk to you soon, brother. I'll catch you soon.
Talk to you soon.
You and I
Take
will
care. Bye now.
Catch you, Dermot. Bye, brother.
Catch you later.
All right, everybody. There's Dermot. Everybody show him the support he deserves over on Tottenham Gold. Last guest of the evening, everybody. We're going out to Freiburg to finish it off. I'm looking forward to it. Bit of kind of a gute Sprechung that we're going to have. What's up, Rufus? Guten Freitag. Prost.
Yeah, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. I'm doing good. You know, kind of nice to maybe wrap things up with you. You know, you kind of a bit more relaxed, so you and I can have a good laugh. You know, it looks like you're probably just sitting outside, you know, thinking about Spurs news, having a nice beer. Looks pretty jealous of your situation.
I was listening to the show last night, and I had to agree with Brian. You know, everybody's panicking. We're not signing people and everything else like that. And people on holiday. We had the internationals, which we didn't need. Nobody needed them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really not worried at the moment. At the moment, I'm not worried at all. And I had to agree with Dermot before. You know, like if it's before the start of the season or a few weeks before the start of the season, I'm happy as well. I mean, Conte said he wanted 6 players. He's got 3. So we're doing all right for him. And didn't they say...
And he's still got a few weeks. Still got a few weeks to get some players in. You know, Paratici's in Italy right now. Do you think he's going to come home empty-handed, or is he going to come back with a few Italians?
Not for a minute. Not for a minute. He'll have a finger in a few pies when he comes back. He's the Don. And he's in his home territory as well. He's in his home territory.
Yeah, he's definitely doing something over there that we don't know about. I think even Rufus, you know, he leaked that, you know, he was there to sell Joe Rodon and potentially loan Brian Hill. That's the only reason he said he's headed out to Italy. Seems a bit crazy for him just to go out to Italy just to get rid of Joe Rodon. I think there's something else on the cards. I think there's something else on the cards.
I'm a Rodon, bye-bye. It never really worked out, did it?
Uh-huh. Do you think he could do well at Roma? Do you think the Serie A could suit Joe Rodon?
I think it's Jose Mourinho seems to have a bit of a soft spot for a bad boy now and again.
Exactly, you're right.
And it seems to sometimes get the best out of him for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why he sort of does well with that type of player quite often.
And he also has all the tattoos for a Serie A center back, I think, as well. A lot of the Serie A center backs, they have the big arm sleeves. Yeah.
I think he'll actually fit in well, and I think it's a bit of a slower league. The players get a bit more time on the ball, so I think he's got a good chance of doing well. As for Brian Hill, I'd much rather that we tried to find a Premiership club for him somewhere and give it one more season, because everybody was talking about stats and this and that, but the one thing that I really noticed, he was playing under our worst manager for God knows how long.
Yeah. What did you notice?
He just really had the badge on his shirt, and he really put effort in when a lot of other people weren't.
No one wasn't. Yeah. And he looked like the best player on the pitch, actually, when there was nothing. There was absolute dross out there, and he would look like the best player out there.
He came on, and we were dross. We were complete dross, and he comes on, and he's trying to do a little bit of brilliance and a little bit of this. Maybe he wasn't physical enough. I think he wasn't physical enough for a Conte team, and it was good to put him out on loan. I would just give him one more season on loan, but try and get it somewhere a bit more physical.
Yeah,
I'd much rather see him go to the Bundesliga, maybe.
Yeah, and he would probably have a lot of fun in the Bundesliga, I would imagine. Very
open. A team like Freiburg that work hard, work on a team ethic, and are quite physical.
He'd like the pressing, I bet.
A bit of pressing, the manager's a good manager. He's a really nice bloke. He's funny. If you ever understand his interviews, he's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I know.
They'll ask him a question and they say, "Oh, as my grandma always used to say," and then they'll just go off on one.
I know. He's also, I think he has some psychology degree or something like that. I think, the Freiburg manager. There's something very special about him.
Christian Streich.
Christian Streich, yeah, I'm looking him up. That's right. I think he's apparently developed like a big camaraderie over there. So I've heard about that team. Like that team.
I mean, he was
really
even considered for the Germany job. You know.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are privileged right now to have Hansi Flick. Even plenty to choose from in terms of German managers. Plenty to choose from.
I'm still an English fan. I'm still an England fan. Sorry, but
yeah.
I don't like Germany at all. As far as I live here, I love Germany.
As far as the football goes, yeah, I like
but,
that.
I love when we play Germany because I'm behind enemy lines, and when we won in the World Cup last time, you can't believe the scenes going on this balcony. It was winding up all the neighbours. We even had fireworks going off.
Good man, especially after Mueller missed. I bet. Yeah, I bet.
How did he miss that? That had to be nailed on, didn't it? For Thomas Mueller to miss an open goal like that from that position,
especially the golden boy for Germany.
I mean, that's his specialty.
Yeah, I know.
I thought, here we go. This is going to be extra time, but there.
Yeah, what a game. But I mean, just maybe quickly, what have you made of the fact that, speaking of, a particular German, they apparently Liverpool, they released some article over on the National saying, they could have got Bissouma at any time they wanted. Bissouma would have been easy. They just decided to look past it. For me, Rufus, this sounds like Karen Klopp, kind of tears, coming out again, the Liverpool jealousy.
I actually work with a guy here in Germany called Liam, who's a Liverpool fan, and it's just pure banter together. We work next to each other. It's banter the whole day.
Yeah.
And then we also banter the German fans. I don't know if I believe it or not, because for him, Bissouma was completely off the radar as a fan.
He could have maybe had it there. He could have, yeah. Maybe we don't know. Maybe we just hijacked the move or something.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't seem to know anything about them being interested in Bissouma.
Yeah, and they were linked with him for quite a long time, so it kind of makes sense maybe that in fact they were. I'd like to think it's Karen Klopp, just complaining, but maybe there was some substance behind it. Rufus, do you want to talk about Christian Eriksen? Are you upset that that's not happening? Are you relieved this isn't happening? Because apparently we haven't spoken to him for actually 2 weeks.
Yeah, we could do with a dead ball player,
But it looks like it might not be happening. Do you think are you disappointed that, we might not actually be signing him? Because that's the trend. That's what it looks like.
I have to agree with a few of the other guests. I
don't care.
I'm not even hot or cold about it,
Yeah.
If we'd got him in, I'd have been like, yeah, fine. And we've got a player that can come on and do a threaded ball or if we get a free kick in a dangerous position, is very likely to tuck it away. But at the same time, I'm sure we can find younger players that will do that,
Yeah,
I did sort of fancy, until I saw the price of Ward-Prowse, I did quite fancy thinking we might get Eriksen and Prowse in, because we needed 2 for each position. And basically that Prowse would learn from Eriksen for the 2 years and then just become absolutely immense.
What do you think of the fact that Sonny, though, is hitting in free kicks? Maybe we don't need the free kick specialist as much as maybe we thought.
I mean, I've watched it a few times on YouTube. It's just sort of like, what is he not doing it in training? Has nobody ever seen him take a free kick before or something? Because if he's doing things like that in training, then you'd be saying give him the ball.
But we've never seen him do it. We never see him get the opportunity to even do it. We never see him get the opportunity.
I was sort of thinking, is maybe is he not stepping up? Alk, I put a bit German in there. Is he also not? Is he also not stepping up to take free kicks in training? Maybe. And this is
he's
just
not putting his name forward. You mean in the conversation?
Yeah, and it's just something he does in the Korean side.
Do you think maybe he just needs? He needs to step up for himself. Maybe Sonny's being too nice. He's not putting his name forward. For the role.
No, if Conte has seen that on YouTube, he needs to be going up to Sonny and saying, "Come here, mate.
Yeah.
We're going to go over here, and you've got a little special corner over here, and you're going to train all day, and you're going to show me what you can do with dead balls, because I didn't know you could do that." maybe he does know he can do it. I don't know.
Because it just makes me think with Sonny doing these incredible free kicks, and he was pretty good from corners, I thought, this last season as well. I thought he had good delivery.
Yeah, I mean,
makes you think maybe the set piece specialist is not as important. Maybe not as important.
I think he's been developing his game for a while. I mean, this is last season was probably the best Sonny we've ever seen.
Absolutely. I think it was the season he showed that he's also world class. This was the season I think he proved that he's world class.
I mean, I've always been a bit surprised that nobody ever came in for him at any time with a bid or said, or tried to get him from us. That's always sort of been a strange one, but it makes me happy because we've kept him all this time,
Absolutely.
And I'm not too worried about what his dad said. He's a Spurs player. He'll be playing for content.
I remember asking you that last time. He'll be
going into the Champions League. I've got no fears of Sonny going anywhere. And Eriksen, if he'd have come back, happy days. But I think we can find someone else younger that can do it. We can give Sonny a go now. That's also a possibility. Watching those things, let's see.
Another question here. I know you're in the Südwestern tile part of Germany. Thoughts on Kaladzic, the Stuttgarter?
I don't watch a lot of Stuttgart because
you don't need to. I'm just curious. Maybe you
I live in Freiburg, so even though I don't support Freiburg.
Some people seem to like him. Some people don't rate him. He's basically like a 6'7" Austrian Peter Crouch by the looks of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's how do I say it? I think the problem is, and this is something that interests me with Haaland this season in the at City. The game here is not so physical. It's not like it was in the 80s. The referees really protect the players. I mean, the lightest of foul or touch, and they got the whistle in the
Bundesliga.
Mouth. In the Bundesliga. And I don't think he would have ever been kicked about much. And I think even though Haaland is super physical, I think he's never been kicked about much as well in the Bundesliga. And I think
he bullies other people, in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, he bullies other people all the time. And now he's going to start meeting like some people who are going to bully him.
Yeah,
and that would always worry me about any striker from the Bundesliga. But Sonny, I mean, he adapted. It took a bit of time, but he adapted.
Do you believe in Bundesliga tax? Have you heard that term before? Like the idea that Bundesliga players, their stats, their stats, their reputation is sometimes very inflated, maybe by the league that they're in.
Yeah, I do. I think the players are a lot more protected here. I think it's easier to score a goal here. I think it's easier to draw a foul. I think it's easier to get a penalty. I think it's easier to get a free kick. It's a different sport here. It's not.
So should we approach these sort of players from the Bundesliga with caution then when we're trying to look at them in the transfer market then because of that Bundesliga tax maybe?
Yeah, I mean it's like we seem to send these youngsters to Germany and they like become these super stat players and then they come back and
yeah.
What
I know.
They seem to face the same problems they had when they left. That maybe not physical enough, maybe not. But yeah, I think I'd be a bit more cautious. I much prefer a striker from Serie A because they do play quite hard there.
Yeah, they do. I actually like that Scamacca guy. If we're going after big, tall strikers, there's this kid over at Sassuolo. I really actually like the looks of Scamacca. He just kind of gives me, I don't know, like he looks ready, for a big team sort of player. So I kind of am with you. I'd go probably more after the Serie A. Maybe.
I think you're right. We need to. If we're going to get two strikers in, I mean, we're not going to get a Raphinha and a Richarlison. So I think we need to get one or the other, and probably Richarlison because he's more universal. Yeah. And then then stick a bit of money out on a bet, like a 25, 30 million, somebody, like a breakthrough player that we can sort of like bring through in cup games and stuff like that, because we're going to need a second pair up front sometimes. It's all the players are in the red zone. We got the World Cup. We're going to need a big squad this year.
Yeah, we are.
Which is why I think everybody's a bit mad that, like with the left back position, Emerson. I think we should keep him, not because as a first player we should try and get somebody better than him, but trying to get 2 in this summer is going to be hard.
Yeah. So you're thinking he just kind of stays by default, kind of sort of thing, like he just stays because you need the bodies, you need the numbers,
Because we need the numbers. I would be adverse to selling him because I'm not too sure. It's a position we've struggled in buying players for a long time. So we're not going to find 2 in the same summer, and it's like a lot of people approach transfers like FIFA. You want a player, you go into FIFA, you get him,
just go get him.
You add him to your team, and it's done. And in the real world, does the player want to join you?
It takes so many elements. There's so many parts involved: add-ons, agent fees, families, relocation.
By Daniel Levy, it could be a packet
work
of crisps
permits.
Yeah, or a hot dog too much.
Visas. No, it's a nightmare.
Eligibility.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. You're right. Sebastian Aller is now headed to Dortmund. Last question here, and then Stevie B is now headed to Ajax. The question I've been asking Rufus is, could Stevie B make a return to the Premier League actually in the future? Let's say it goes really well at Ajax. Let's say he has a great World Cup. Would you say 3-4 years down the line? Who knows? Maybe he makes like an 80 million euro move, back to the Premier League or something.
He could do. I don't really understand why so many people are negative about him. He's actually quite a little explosive player when he wants to be. I just don't think he got the minutes, to be honest. But then again, I'm not on the training field, so maybe like the coaches see something in him that means he doesn't get the minutes. It's a difficult one, but I'll always be thankful for the Leicester. That was like the highlight of the season for me. You can't imagine how loud it was when it all went off in that last couple of minutes here. It was just crazy. But I wish him well. He could come back. And
Angel
like
Matos.
Said, if he does, it will be for big money. Maybe somewhere like Chelsea or something like that in a couple of years.
Do you see it? I kind of described it as a small step backwards for a potential huge step forwards in his career. Do you think that's how it might be for for him?
I think he needs a small step backwards. He won't get the time at Spurs, will he?
No.
And I think he really needs. He wants to be playing all the minutes he can, and I think he needs to do that somewhere else. Ajax have made. It's a bit cheap, but it's a player off the books. Because it's all nice that we're buying all these players, but we have to be selling some as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There's a few that worry me.
Yeah, Angel Matos saying Richarlison covers Kane and the wings. Raphinha covers the wings plus right wing back. They're Premier League proven plus relegation battle proven as well. They know the value of 3 points. We cover the cost for 1 from our sales. Get both. Plus Spence, plus Ndika, 10 out of 10 window. So much to break down there, Angel. I must say, I actually kind of like how you're thinking, where if you maybe sell enough, let's say you sell Stevie B, maybe you sell, I don't know, Harry Winks is somehow going for 20 million. I can't believe it. But, if he were to go for 20 million, you might actually be able to pay for the majority of that Raphinha fee or the majority of that Richarlison fee. And then you still have the money left over to get both. I kind of agree with you there. My feeling is, Angel, with Raphinha is that he would be an incredible alternative to Kulusevski. I know we all love Kulusevski. We want him to be, our main man. We want him to be the number 1. But it would be pretty sensational to have someone like Raphinha to compete with him for that right wing spot. I mean, that's just top quality wingers that you have available. Whereas Richarlison, I'm kind of with you, where Richarlison covers Kane and the wings. He basically covers the majority of the front line. And then if, let's say, a Kane needs a rest, if even, God forbid, Kane picks up an injury, Richarlison would be, rest assured, like a quality player to bring in return. And I kind of like the idea of signing both. I must be honest. We keep talking about one or the other, but maybe you just got to make it simple and just get both. Rufus,
Totally.
what do you feel like? Is it possible to get both? He is kind of breaking it down here. Let's say we sell enough players, you might be able to afford both.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, everybody seems to hang on this 150 million. This 150 million is plus what we already had. Plus
the
we're going to make some
transfer
sales and stuff like that. So
yeah,
everybody says, oh, 150 million. It's not 150 million. It's more. How much more? None of us know. But
I agree with you.
Like you said, sales. And as for Angel's point, I'd love to get both. I'd love to get both. That would really be like making a statement. But not at the cost of not covering left wing back, not getting another defender. It would be great to get both if we can do it, but not at the cost of other positions. I'd still like to see Kostic coming. Definitely.
Yeah, I would love to see Kostic coming as well. He's saying get both, and then you also get Jed Spence and Ndika. That makes it a 10 out of 10 window. I feel like you still need to get another center back. I'll be honest, Angel, you might still need to pick up another center back, but I like Ndika. After doing that review on the second channel, I think Ndika is extremely underrated, especially if we're looking at those left side center back options. But yeah, also the fact that Richarlison and Raphinha, they do both work really hard as well, Rufus, right? Like those guys press, they've been playing for teams at the bottom of the Premier League. He has a point. They know the value of 3 points at the end of the day too. These guys.
I mean, I loved Kaladzic the whole season, and this shirt I'm buying this season is a Kaladzic shirt because he's just
good man.
I love him to bits. But there's games where he was quiet. Mm-hmm. And in them moments, you need to be able to look at your bench and say, right,
holy shit, adding Raphinha onto the field, that'd be crazy. That's absurd.
Kane has quiet games,
Yeah.
We play Kane every game, but nobody can sit here and say, oh, he played 10 out of 10 every game.
There are games when he needs a rest or needs something different. Yeah, I agree with you, Rufus. And maybe that's why Angel has gone for both, is because the reason he's gone for both is even our world-class players might be off one day. They might just be off the mark.
Exactly. We don't just need cover for other competitions. Sometimes we're going to play games and the player just isn't feeling it. Maybe he had a rough night or he's had a bit of an infection or he just didn't sleep well because he was just thinking about the game too much. So many factors that can factor into a player's performance in a game. If they're just not feeling it, having a bad day, and then you can look around and you can say, right, get him on. And you haven't lost any quality,
Do you feel like
Kulu had a couple of really quiet games where I was a bit disappointed, but like the majority were good.
Do you feel like, last little part, of Angel's, super chat here. Do you feel like Jed Spence, Matt Doherty, Sessegnon, Perisic, maybe we keep Emerson around too, just for the sake of the argument. Is that enough in terms of wingbacks? Do you think that we have good enough wingbacks, going into next season with Jed Spence as being the only addition alongside Perisic?
I mean, if we end up getting Raphinha and Richarlison, we can. I don't think we'll sort of have the money to get Kostic and other players like that as well, because we'll really need to invest some money in a centre back of some sort. I mean,
there you are, Angel. I think honestly that's a 10 out of 10 window from me as well, especially the Ndika part. Just like honestly, the creme de la creme. At the end, honestly, just beautifully put. And then you just get Longley, as like a cheap left-sided center back to cover Davies. Maybe Ndika could play in the middle of the back three as well as playing the left-sided center back. Smart man, Mr. Matos. Smart man. And also really appreciate the massive one as well. And honestly, we're looking for a 10 out of 10 window and we need the Dawn to start cooking, Angel. So really do appreciate it, brother. Sebas Wolf saying, Conte once mentioned that Kulu could play as a right wing back. If we get Raphinha, both can play on the same side. That would be lethal. This has been brought up before that technically Raphinha has sort of played as a right wing back at one stage or another, Rufus. Conte did say Kulusevski can sort of play as a right wing back, just, for, I don't know, just for sake. It's kind of hilarious to have two left-footed right wingers play on the same side, both cutting inside as well.
Could you imagine that, like, you're a defender and you've got Kulusevski and Raphinha.
I just think it's hilarious that they both cut inside on their left, like each time.
You've got
like they're
Son,
making
and
this
you've
big
got Kane coming at you. Bissouma.
Raphinha, the right wing back, just sounds incredible.
Bissouma, and if we had both, going back to the other super chat, Richarlison coming at that, oh my god.
You gotta love it, Sebas.
Maybe we don't need an Eriksen after all.
I mean, to be fair, like just maybe last little part of this as well. You know what I mean by like an inverted sort of like wing back, you know, like how Joao Cancelo, right? He cuts inside on the opposite side. Just, you know, maybe for Sebas's sake here, Rufus, is that possible? Do you think Spurs could get away with like an inverted wing back, you know, someone that is on the wrong foot on the wrong side, but, you know, can make up for it? Do you think that could work? You know, can someone do that? Can someone pull that off? I don't even know the answer.
Really, doesn't it? You know,
yeah, right. I think you need to be some type of player to be able to pull that off.
Some people just are only comfortable on one foot. Some people can play amazing things with that one foot. Some people are 2-footed. It would be if we pulled it off, that it would be pretty difficult for the other team. You know, like. Yeah, Conte, try that out on the play.
Yeah. Sebas, let me know what you think, though. I mean, honestly, it sounds like a lot of fun, but I think it is quite hilarious to picture them both, you know, cutting inside off the right, you know, with the ball each time. It'd almost be like, might as well get Andros Townsend in as well, you know, get Andros Townsend, put him on the left back. He cuts inside from the left. Everybody's just cutting inside from every direction.
Probably swapping for Winksy.
Get Winks in to make the sideways passes to them. There you go.
Winks the player that Winks the player that will be with any deal. It's a buy a player, we'll throw in a Winks free.
In all seriousness, though, Sebas, I do feel like we could take a look at sort of an inverted kind of wing back. It could be something very dangerous, like you said, lethal, and something kind of a bit outside the box as well. So I like that idea, Sebas. And honestly, just seeing those two overlapping each other, Kulusevski and Raphinha, like Rufus said, just sounds absolutely terrifying, you know, for the opposition.
I mean, we've not had anybody. There was this season. It was like the breakthrough time for Gareth Bale. But the way, I'm not saying that it's a direct comparison, but the way Disco Benny and Gareth Bale used to overlap, they destroyed Milan at White Hart Lane. Absolutely destroyed them. And we really miss that sort of overlapping play a bit at the moment. It's quite often we seem to stop in the middle of the park and then pass it wide and stuff, you know, or pass it inside or stuff, you know, like some of these blistering wing attacks on the wings. I mean, like the Tottenham from back then, they're brilliant attacking both wings.
And he even says, Sebas, he says, Doherty did it on the left and he's below levels of Kulu. So why wouldn't he be able to do it? That's a good point, you know, there as well. That is a good point. But big up, Sebas. Appreciate support. And then Rufus, thank you for coming on, my man.
Yeah,
you know, and appreciate you spending the time with me. Schönes Wochenende. Enjoy your Friday. Is that a Rathaus Pills?
Healthy info, my friend.
Is that a Rathaus Pills you were enjoying? What type of pills do you have there? A Rathaus. Yeah, it's habe das geschont. There you go.
I think you can get it in New York, apparently.
You can. It's very expensive, though. It's almost not worth it, I would say. It's almost better just to wait till you get back to Germany, you know, and then you can enjoy it there. But yeah, you can get it over here in New York. You can. Definitely have seen it. Just, I don't know if I'm rich enough at that stage. You know, it's almost like $5, you know, for like an 11-ounce one. It's really, it's quite a special occasion.
I went out a few times with a girl that worked there, and she said they just started selling it in New York. So that's how
it's everywhere. It's just they haven't changed the price though. But maybe one day me and Sebas Wolf, in fact, might enjoy Rathaus Pills together over here. But Rufus, appreciate you coming on, my man. Thank you for taking your Friday and joining me. Thanks for keeping me company, and we'll catch you soon. Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Rufus. See you soon.
Take care.
There you are. Good person to end on right there, Rufus. A great person to end on. Bringing the energy. Just kind of easy person to chat with, I must say. But everybody, that is the end of the fan show. That is the end of the Tottenham Bulletin, the end of the news. So much today. We went through the news with Sean, went through all the fans, you know, and everything. And we still actually have plenty more lined up for this weekend while David is gone. We have a debate show planned for tomorrow. I think a huge conversation is actually going to be about what can we do with Tanguy Ndombele? How can we get rid of him? Sunday, I think, is another debate show planned as well. And then Monday, we'll be back with another fan show. So for the next 3 days, you have your content prepared, you have your content ready. So don't go any place else when it comes to any sort of debate shows or whatnot. We have everything lined up for you this weekend and well prepared. While David is gone, really do appreciate you guys tuning in for this one. Really appreciate all the likes, all the super chats, all the support, everybody. And also just thank you to all the guests for coming on. We had so many, in fact, come on. I think Elias, Michael, Dermot, just had Rufus, Kuva came on, and I know I'm actually missing Daniel as well. Plenty did come on today. So really do appreciate all the support that I have received today. It's been absolutely massive. But everybody, that'll be all for now. I will probably be on, I think, another show later. I think on the Cheese Room, if you do want to catch me there, doing a podcast over on that channel. But yep, everybody, that'll be all for now. Smash that like, smash that subscribe button. And I will be seeing you. Come on, you Spurs. And Conte we trust.